What is up, everybody? Derek Lambert here. Justin from Deconstruction Zone. Welcome back.
Buddy, I'm thrilled to be here. I'm most excited, and you know me, like we're gonna talk about my favorite subject ever. And so I don't know if I've ever been more excited to open my mouth on somebody else's live stream.
Hey, look, man, you're doing some big stuff. You do way longer streams than I do. I wish I had your stamina to be able to handle doing these live streams. I got to pull it. You know what's so funny? We were so distracted. So we were misspelling your name. I should have had your YouTube channel up, but I do have it in the description. But for those who don't know, Deconstruction Zone, Justin does debates. Okay. Like it's not just here. You have DZ debates, but usually on your DZ debates, those are already like cut up sections of your live streams, which happen on the big channel. And I watch, like, dude, I binge watch you. Like when I'm going off, as the Yahwist Elijah would say of Baal, off to take a potty. Okay, I'm watching you. Okay, now, I don't know how that makes you feel or nothing, but I watch you all the time, man. Like,
Buddy, I love it. You can watch me on the pot. You can watch me in the bathtub. I love all of it.
dude, I'm gonna say this. We're friends, everybody. So if I'm saying dude or bro, whatever, it's just me and Justin. Okay, we're friends. I've never seen more like even full preterist, which come out of that avenue, which is not a common idea amongst most who investigate New Testament stuff, things like that. I've never seen more interactions with full preterists on this kind of stuff than you, and you'll spend godly amounts of patience engaging with full preterists, and maybe we'll get a few to call in tonight. I did put it into one of the full preterist groups and tagged everyone and told them to call in and tell us why we're wrong about Jesus being wrong,
Yeah, it's funny because like I get the appeal of full preterism because when you're looking at the prophecies, especially even like the predictions of Jesus, you want to be like, well, man, it kind of looks like it failed, right? So
Right.
rather than just admitting that these prophecies failed, you do all kinds of pretzels and contortions. You have to turn into a circus act trying to change the meaning of words to say, no. It's not that any of these prophecies failed. It's that you have to change the meaning of all these words, and all of them have already been fulfilled. There's not even any left to be fulfilled.
Yeah.
So even the ones in Revelation, they're done, baby. I was like, okay, if you're delusional.
Oh man, it's so funny because when you just take the New Testament and then set it next to the prophecies of the Hebrew Bible, Old Testament for Christians, you see that one is physical and one tries to do something spiritual. And then in some cases, there seems to be real predictions of actual things that don't actually happen in the real world in the New Testament. Even like the kingdom of God, right? That's its own matter. That there are some scholars who have different opinions about this, but it seems like a consensus of critical scholars point out that there seemed to have been a real expectation of an actual kingdom coming down out of heaven, so to speak, meaning a renewal of the earth. And then
Mm-hmm.
it ends up becoming in you, you know?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, even Peter asked, closer to the Olivet Discourse, like, "Hey, is this when your kingdom's going to come down from heaven?" Because that was the expectation based on the plain reading of the text.
Right. There's so much. I mean, I kind of wonder how many people do you think we're going to end up getting to call in tonight?
It's hard to say, because when you're first starting doing call-ins and debates, it seems like there might be a lot of people that are like, I don't know about this. But once you've earned a reputation for taking call-ins, people think about you. There are Christians that are like checking under their bed for me at night because they're so mad at me, and then they see me live and they're like, this motherfucker, I gotta call in and set him straight.
Do you have you made some friends though along the way? Like, yes, I'm sure you piss off 99% of your callers, but like, have you made some friends that have come along and said, "All right, you know what? You're not a bad dude." What do
I
you think?
actually have, and there's a couple Christians out there that are really kind of disliked in the atheist community, but there's a couple that I've found that I actually kind of rather appreciate. There's a guy on TikTok named Vor, And like I've had the ability to dialogue with him offline. We've had a number of times where we had just like informal discussions on other live streams. And like I think he's a really sincere guy. He believes some really wild stuff, but I think he's legitimately sincere and I think he means well. He
Yeah.
just is really caught up in a lot of nonsense. So there's definitely a lot of apologists where I think like, man, if they had a different education, they would probably just be on the other side of things. It just happens to be that we all have access to different information, right?
Yeah. Yeah. How many people would have looked at the information you and I have looked at and been willing to cross that bridge? I imagine a lot of it is speak to your elder, talk within your church, reason it, find a way to make it still work. And I think that's kind of why there's that cyclical kind of you stay inside and never really go outside because you're told kind of what to think. And as long as we agree, and I think I was excommunicated, which allowed me, fortunate enough,
Were
to
you really?
yeah.
I don't think
Like
you told me that. You were excommunicated.
bro, I was bona fide legally. I had a legal letter mailed to me and my wife being excommunicated from the Presbyterian PCA.
Damn, dude.
Yeah, I should have worn it as a badge of honor on this stream and just check it out. Excommunication documents, you know?
That's vicious. I didn't know that. I've seen that happen before. I had a buddy that got excommunicated merely for getting a divorce. And for him, it wrecked him. He thought the people in the church loved him. He thought they were friends.
Damn. That sucks.
Yeah.
For me, I was still a Christian when I got excommunicated, by the way. I was not Christian. I became a full preterist.
Mm-hmm.
That's where this gets really wild about this whole prophecy and Jesus being wrong, because I saw that if they held to their view, Jesus was wrong. And I knew that I had to make words not mean what words mean. And I had to say Jesus knew this was going to happen then, or else he was
Right.
wrong about, the end. And so I, as a Christian, thought I was doing the right thing and believing the words of Jesus that he said it was going to happen soon. So it must have happened. But how it happened is what we have to do to pretzel ourselves to fix it. And it got me in big trouble. 5 elders sat me down like in a court, like in a room, like a courtroom, it felt like. And they told me not to speak. And they rebuked me, all 5 of them. And then sent me on my way home. And I felt completely uncomfortable. And I stopped attending. I went a couple more times, but I stopped attending. And then they gave me excommunication letters. I gave a testimony of this in New York at one of these preterist churches. I gave a couple of like preachings, if you will, about why the end had to happen back then and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And the pastor of my church that excommunicated wrote me and told me I'm a liar, that I lied, that they excommunicated me for being absent. And I'm like, why do you think I stopped coming? You guys
That's
sat
crazy.
me down and like rebuked me. 5 of you embarrassingly wouldn't let me speak. Like, what do you expect someone to do?
It's funny too because I've seen this before. When cornered, like when church leaders are cornered, they will lie. It's like it's not even a thing. I've seen abuses and scandals just swept under the rug. Oh, it's not what you think. It didn't really happen that way. Meanwhile, like here's the fucking court documents. It turned out it happened exactly that way.
Yeah, man. It's legal. The excommunication letter is a legal document, and they don't play around about membership. So these higher churches, you have to go through a rigorous process to become a member. And then when you become not a member, it's always a bad divorce. It's never just hey, I'm not attending anymore. It's yeah, well, remember that time you told me about your wife, and like then drama, and then it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's really
Mhm.
vicious. Let me know when you want me to put this StreamYard link out. We could start circulating, but I wanted to first give it time to let people kind of
Mhm.
start tuning in. And anything you might want to say before we begin that kind of rigorous engagement with people?
Yeah, well, you can put the link out now. People will
Okay.
start. It takes. They have to pray about it and do a stirring of the Holy Spirit before they can actually call or use the link.
Yeah.
So now is plenty of time for them to form a prayer circle and whatnot, and do whatever they need to do to get the Holy Spirit to call in. But, I did because I wasn't sure how many callers we would get on our first go. I did actually get the list of 351 prophecies supposedly fulfilled by Jesus that we could definitely go through. And I've got a separate list that I've been keeping of just the prophecies about Jesus that are mentioned in the Gospels. Because I honestly, I think most Christians are a little more keen on the ones in the Gospels than the ones outside of the Gospels.
Mhm.
So more than happy to break down any of those prophecies while we're waiting for someone to call. And it's funny because I don't know if a lot of people have read like the origin of some of these supposed prophecies. Some of them are wild. We're like, wait. The gospel author thought that was a prophecy? You got to be kidding me.
Yeah. Go ahead. Feel free to, if you want to jump on a few of those. By the way, Christians calling here to defend Jesus. We have the StreamYard link. And be sure to like the video, share this with a friend. Justin, feel free to take us off, man.
Yeah, you know what? There are two prophecies that come from the Psalms that I kind of like going over. I think it demonstrates really clearly, I'm going to say, the main problem with how the New Testament uses the Old Testament. And one of them comes from Psalm 69, and one of them comes from Psalm 41. So if we go to John 13:18, I don't know if you can put these on the board.
Yeah, do you want me to look them up, or do you want to share your screen, or how would you like me to do this?
I'm more than happy to share my screen. Yeah, it's not a
Okay.
problem. Give me a second to share my browser.
No problem. I'm going to stop sharing so you don't get confused in the background. You
Yeah,
don't do
yeah.
StreamYard, do you?
I used it for a while, but I ended up getting my own setup done with OBS. So
Mm,
it seemed easier to do it this way. All right, so I've got a window here.
gotcha.
There we go. There we go. That's pretty good. John 13:18 is interesting. So Jesus talks about his betrayal, namely that Judas is the one. He's the guy, and he says, "I'm not speaking of all of you. I know whom I've chosen, but it is to fulfill the scripture. The one who ate my bread has lifted his heel against me." But like this is kind of preposterous because like what this is really suggesting is that Jesus must be betrayed in order to fulfill the scripture, right? And he's like,
Mhm.
listen, I'm doing this thing because scriptures have to be fulfilled. They can't be broken, he says. So, okay,
Right.
well, what's this scripture that you simply must fulfill? If you go to Psalm 41, which is where this quote comes from, it's the
Uh-huh.
most preposterous thing. Like, first of all, it's just David. David's like, oh, another lament. He's like, oh shit, I'm in trouble again, God. And so he's going off. And if you just go back a couple verses before the quote, so Jesus quotes verse 9, which is fine. But if you just go back a couple verses, like it's painfully obvious that this is not a Messiah talking. It's just David talking. Although to be fair, David was a Mashiach. But in verse 4 it says, "As for me, I said, O Lord, be gracious to me, heal me, for I have sinned against you. My enemies wonder in malice when I will die, and my name perish." And he's just going on crying about the fact that he's getting his rear end handed to him. And then eventually he gets down to the point. He says, "Even my close friend in whom I trusted, who ate of my bread, has lifted the heel against me." This isn't all that difficult to sort out. When I was in Bible college, when you take hermeneutics class in Bible college, like the first thing they will teach you, rule number one, they'll say, listen, context is king. Like you've got to absolutely do everything by the context. If this is like a poetry and a lament, it's a poetry and a lament that should be read as a poetry and a lament. You
Right.
can't just like make it into something it's not. So like if context matters and genre matters, then this is just King David doing a lament. This is not Jesus. This is
Yeah.
not about a Messiah. It's not a prediction for the future. It's just utter nonsense that anyone would think that Jesus is fulfilling scripture when it's just a random out of context quotation.
Yeah, it's a fascinating point. What were the authors of the New Testament meaning by this fulfilled scripture? Is it simply that it looks to imitate, it has a similar typology that it just repeats? Or is there a actual prophecy, which you're saying clearly there's not here in Psalms, that is predicting that the Messiah one day is supposed to be betrayed? Where is that in these texts? We don't see it in the scriptures that you're looking at. They didn't mind pulling a sentence out in the middle of a context to make their points, though. They did this all the time.
Yeah, so you're familiar, I know, with Midrash.
Yeah.
You're also familiar with the practice of Pesharim. What they're doing seems to be like somewhere in between the two, where they're like, look, we've got these sacred documents from God. The message that we need is actually not what it says. The message we need is like hidden secretly. Like you need to decode the secret message, right? So they're
Right.
really just playing games with the scripture. But what's more likely that like God gave these clear, genre specific texts that don't predict anything, but hid predictions in there, and you have to figure out what they are. You have no context clues to go by. Or that like this is just a book of mythology, like every other book of mythology. It seems like the latter solves most of the problems.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There's so much that you do pointing out these things, and I love seeing it, live. Of course, it's always fun. We do have a caller in the back. I don't know
Sure.
if you want to go ahead and take this caller.
Yeah, let's bring them in.
All right, so we'll do it this way. All right, Neptunes, what's up? Oh, they dip. Oh, we had
Folded
Neptunes
like
here.
a lawn chair.
Come on, Neptunes. Come on, we'll be nice. I promise. Everybody knows I'm a nice guy. You know what I'm saying? Justin is questionable at times, okay? But
I am
seems like
very
you're in a good
questionable.
mood. You are very questionable, but you know what? You're in a good mood tonight. So let's hear, someone, please, Christian, that thinks that Jesus really did fulfill all these prophecies, or he didn't fail, or whatever. Like, feel free to join. We won't bite too hard as long as you're nice. As long as you're nice. I think you do give energy as you receive it. Like, you tend to usually
tend to.
Yeah.
Yeah. If someone comes up on my live stream and they're being kind, I typically treat them kindly. So much so that like quite a few times, I'll see like my audience start to dip out. Like people will like leave because it's the blood sport has left.
Yeah. Okay, Neptunes is back. Cool. Neptunes, thank you for coming back here, man. What's up, Neptunes?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes. We thought you ran, man.
No, it's like when it connected, it just knocked me out, so I got back on real quick.
It was
Fair
the
enough.
devil. It was the devil.
It surely was. I'm not going to try to defend all these things. I wanted to say something to y'all and to both of you for a long time. I've watched both of your podcasts, hundreds of them, and I like how you've been able to dissect things, and you get certain people on that know how to pick apart just any little part of the Bible and say, well, that's not even what it means here, and they can explain it to a point that most theologians aren't willing to go into, even if they're trying to apologetics. And your guest here, he tears people apart incredibly. He does. He'll pin you down. He's like, where do you want to go? What's your proof? And then he's like, okay, let's show you that's not there. And of course, it always goes out in left field, but quite often he does get somebody to actually realize that, well, he might have a good point here. And I want to ask a few questions of y'all to clarify things. In the idea of the fulfilled prophecies, most all of these
Neptunes
are from Old Testament, right?
Neptunes, you're breaking up, brother. You're breaking up. Say that again. You were going to ask a few questions,
I'm
and
sorry.
then you broke up.
Yeah, I'm wondering, most of these failed prophecies seem to be coming from Old Testament stuff that never came true in the first place. Am I right?
I think so.
I agree.
It seems like that when they try to do Isaiah, and you're like, they're not even talking about, they're talking about Israel as a collective and all these things, and it has nothing to do, unless you want to triple or down on the idea that it's supposed to be about Jesus.
Right.
And
there are times where it's Vaticanum ex eventu. You have those cases sometimes that seem to have been written after the fact, but I think there's more often failed, and then the can gets kicked down the road, and then a later prophet keeps kicking it down the road, and then Daniel shows up and kicks it down the road, and then Christians recycle. That tends to be what we see a lot.
Yeah, it's what I've noticed too by trying to see some of these apologetics, and of course, y'all all know the famous ones and stuff, and it's terrible how they can be totally debunked. I don't know how anybody could try to present an idea like Noah's Ark to anybody with any seriousness whatsoever. It's it's beyond silly. Yeah, the local zoo here has more animals than you could fit on that, and then there's no food for them, and just the myriad of questions. And of course, I think it was stolen from a Sumerian earlier tale that's of Utnapishtim and everything, and it just changed one phrase and said, now they go over the hills, or the water reached over the hills. If you just take that out, it's pretty much verbatim the Sumerian tale. And of course, Abraham came from Ur, right?
Yes, Neptunes. Quick question. Are you a Christian? Because we're trying to get Christians to come on and to defend this whole idea, or at least like engage and reason with us about these prophecies. And it seems like you probably might not be. If you are a Christian, I don't want to like misrepresent you, but it seems like you're not one that's overly concerned with trying to defend these prophecies. And no, I plan on doing more streams.
Learned not to.
Okay, you've learned not to. Okay.
Yeah, from help of people like you and your guest here, I've realized a lot of things. I looked into it myself, and I found many other weird things. Like you can find a lot of these stories written in the stars, in the zodiac itself. You know what I'm saying?
So, you're talking about prophecies.
Yeah, prophecies are a great one to choose. Is just the holy birth of Jesus that is supposed to take place. In our common motif, and all of our motifs, it always shows a sheep, and it shows a cow, and it shows this building, and of course there's the three wise men and so on. Well, the three wise men are the three kings, are the belts of Orion, and there's Aries right there. That's the sheep. There's Taurus right there. The little drummer boy is an actual Sumerian pun on an idea of Leo, which also contains the idea of a king and an infant. I believe you had a guy, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, who he showed the zodiac going along with stories like this in the Bible, right? What's it? L. David Litwa? Is that it?
Litwa doesn't do that. No, there might have been another guy way back, John Lundwall. But mind you, there are no three kings. So that's later Christian tradition. There's no three kings in the story.
Right.
But, you know, there are some people who think there might be some celestial story behind this stuff. And look, I give pushback. I used to believe this stuff. I used to. And Justin, please chime in, cut in anytime, bro. This is your show as much as it's mine right now. Okay. Like I'm hanging out with Justin today, but I just I find it to be almost like anything is possible. You can interpret it so many different ways. It's not a rigorous thing. And even if there is some symbolic kind of astrotheology in these materials, it's so up for grabs on what it means and where it's at that there's not like a rigorous method in order to decipher what's going on in a lot of this material. So I don't want to discard that there isn't something there, but at the same time, it's so soft of a science that you might as well read a fortune cookie in some cases. Like, I mean, honestly, it's to me not convincing anymore that way. That is not to take away that there might be something to this stuff. What we're doing today is dealing with.
It seems like you can find a lot of the motifs that are in the pictures and in the story right there in the sky any night you want to look up at. There's Aries, there's a cow, there's this, there's a Bethlehem, the ancient city. From my understanding, Aquarius is quite often listed as being the god, so it's Yahweh or it's this person or that person. The whole idea of the flood is that a lot of the animals in the zodiac that are right around there are fishes, like Pisces, like the era that we're in now. And that's why Jesus uses the reference. I mean, he turns two fish and feeds the thousands right off the bat. It's like, yeah, this is Pisces. Much like the change from Moses seemed to be going from bulls and the golden cow. Then he says you're supposed to worship rams. But of course, after that, he says you're supposed to sacrifice your firstborn children, and nobody ever reads that part in church. They go off in left field about that concept. But just like Samson and his story, and the 12 labors of Hercules, you can find that.
Hey, Neptune.
Yeah,
these are really cool subjects, but I'm afraid they're not quite on topic for what we're doing here tonight. But I'm sure we'll be live and again in the future to chit chat.
Oh,
on
yeah.
this one.
Yeah. Thank you, Neptune. Look, you've been nothing but friendly, and I really appreciate the respect. But we want to stick to prophecy and dealing with like the text and things like that. And I will do future episodes.
Yeah,
we'll have
Justin's an expert in. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Totally. I just saw my chance and nobody was chiming in, and I said, well, let's click the button and just tell them hi for the first time in a long time.
Well, thanks for watching.
Thank you.
I appreciate all that y'all do, and I'll cash out now. Just click me out and try to find your Christian to defend it.
Sure thing. Cheers, buddy.
All right. Well, what a nice guy, really. But clearly off the topic right now of what we're trying to do. Anything you'd like to say, or do we just want to take our next caller? Or?
I think we could jump right into it. I think when we get through the calls and we have some dead space, we'll dive back into some more prophecy nonsense.
Okay, cool. All right, Dirk, what's up, man?
Oh, okay, guys. Full disclosure, Dirk's not a Christian, but before you guys kick me off, I wanted to reveal to you that.
Sorry, I kicked him. I already know Derek. He worships the sun, not the Son of God, the actual Son.
Yeah. Well, okay. I mean, that makes better sense, at least, than it does. I mean, I've heard that. What's the stand-up comedian who was like, I worship the sun. I can feel the sun. I can see the sun, all that kind of stuff. So it's like, okay. All right, cool. Hopefully we can get someone who's, actually going to talk about the topic and be friendly, and let's see where it goes. All right.
Absolutely.
John, what is up?
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Hey, man. Good to have you on the show.
So, thank you. I just started watching the show a couple weeks ago, but it's been amazing. I already knew a lot of the stuff going in, but you just basically like watching your shows confirmed a lot of it for me. So I just got to say thank you for that. So I want to teach you guys a little something that I learned on my own. I'm a self-taught historian. And in September, I was kind of bored. I was on FMLA collecting disability, and I decided to read the Bible. And I kind of figured some things out, and I'd like to share it with you guys. I like to talk about Isaiah, how he prophesied Emmanuel.
Okay. Well, so when you say Emmanuel, are you referring to like a Messiah or something else?
Yeah, so I basically figured out that Jesus is Emmanuel. Emmanuel is Jesus. But I also figured out that Yahweh, Jehovah, and Jesus, they all equal Emmanuel. Emmanuel is Emmanuel has a father. His name's El, right? The evolution of El's name, it goes El.
I don't
Elahi.
think that's the case. So Emmanuel doesn't have a father listed in Isaiah 7. Emmanuel seems to possibly be one of the sons of the prophet himself, which is the point of the prophecy. The point of the prophecy in Isaiah 7 is about the the Aramean Syrian alliance that's coming against Jerusalem. It might help if we read a little bit from the chapter. You want to read with us?
Yeah, sure. But can I explain this to you real quick, and then you can give me feedback?
Sure.
All right. So Emmanuel has a father. His name's El. The evolution of El's name goes like this. It goes, first they called him El, then they called him Elahi, then they called him Allah, and then today they call him Allah. Coincidentally, if you say El, Elahi, Allah, Allah, in Arabic, you just said the one and only God. His full name is Elohim. All right. Now, Emmanuel, he also has a mother. Her name's Asherah. She's the supreme goddess of the universe, the Holy Mother Spirit, and the Queen of the Heavens. She's consort to El, which means that they're equal. I mean, that's what I got from reading the Bible. I mean, it's pretty simple. Asher's in the Bible, Elohim's in the Bible. If you really look at the Bible, it's a pantheon of gods. El's the Father, Yahweh is his son, Yahweh is Jesus. Before Jesus came to earth, his name was Yahweh. He's the God of lightning. He's the God of war. So that's what I got. I don't. Another example, like Jehovah.
I would
That's
love
just
to
a
see
name
your
that they.
sources on this.
I mean, I could show you my graph that I got, but like for example, Jehovah, that's a Latinized Yahweh. It's a name that was created in the 13th century. That's
Oh
all that
boy.
Jehovah is. Jehovah is Yahweh.
So Jehovah is a bad modern English reading of the German transliteration, and that's not important right now. I'm not worried about Jehovah. Jehovah, it was a scribal tradition that was baked up by the Masoretes. So they had something in the Masoretic text where they would take vowel pointers for some words and place them under consonants for other words because they wanted you to not pronounce some things out of respect. So they didn't want you to pronounce the name of Yahweh out of respect for the name of Yahweh. So they put the vowels of Adonai on those consonants. And they say, this is what you read, but this is what you say. You say Adonai, even though you're reading Yahweh. It's a Kiri Ketev pattern in the Masoretic tradition. So Jehovah was never the name of anybody. That's simply a scribal convention that was invented to respect the name of Yahweh. Just like in my modern English Bible, it doesn't say Yahweh, it just says the Lord. It's just a scribal
Yeah,
invention to protect the name. So that being
yeah,
said, the name of the God in the Hebrew Bible is typically Yahweh, although I agree with you. There's another God that shows up named El, who is later conflated with Yahweh. That's important. We don't have to worry about that yet. So I agree with you. El seems to be a god of the Ugaritic Canaanite pantheon. He shows up in the Hebrew Bible. Let's not get distracted on that yet, because you came in and you wanted to talk about Emmanuel. And I
yeah.
think Emmanuel is important since that's what you came in on. In order to get to the bottom of the Emmanuel stuff, let's read Isaiah 7 together and just kind of ask ourselves, what's happening here given a plain reading of the context? Do you think that'd be okay?
Sure.
Okay, awesome. So I'm going to pull up the passage here. It says, in the days of Ahaz, son of Jotham, son of Uzziah, king of Judah, King Rezin of Aram, and King Pekah, son of Remaliah of Israel, went up to attack Jerusalem, but could not conquer it. So it's pretty simple. We've got two kings that are attacking King Ahaz. He's king in Judea. So he's the king of the southern tribes, namely Judea and Benjamin. And he's being attacked by two other kings, namely Rezin of the Arameans and Pekah, who is the king of the north, the northern 10 tribes. So what's happening here is like, uh-oh, we're in trouble. It says, when the house of David heard that Aram had allied itself with Ephraim, the heart of Ahaz and the heart of his people shook as the trees of the forest shake before the wind. So I think the context is pretty clear. Right at the beginning, it's saying, hey, there's a war. There's a war going on, and King Ahaz is terrified that something's going to happen. So God sends the prophet and the prophet's son to go out and talk to King Ahaz. The first prophecy starts in verse 3 and it ends in verse 9. And God is trying to shore up the faith of the king of Judah because he's like, if you don't stand firm in your faith, you're not going to stand at all. Your kingdom's going to fall. So you got to stand firm in your faith. So then he sends the prophet a second time. The second time he sends the prophet, you get the quotation that you're probably concerned with. And it says, again, the Lord spoke to Ahaz, saying, ask a sign of the Lord your God. Let it be as deep as Sheol or as high as heaven. But Ahaz said, I will not ask, and I will not put the Lord to the test. Then Isaiah said, hear then, O house of David, is it too little for you to weary mortals that you weary my God also? Therefore, the Lord himself will give you a sign. Look, the young woman is with child, and shall bear a son, and shall name him Emmanuel. He shall eat curds and honey by the time he knows how to refuse the evil and choose the good. For before the child knows how to refuse the evil and choose the good, the land before whose two kings you are in dread will be deserted. The Lord will bring on you and on your people and on your ancestral house such days as have not come since the day that Ephraim departed from Judah, the king of Assyria. So the prophecy is a timeline for when the king of Assyria is going to come down and is going to cook those two northern kingdoms that are attacking King Ahaz. So this seems to just be a prophecy about a child that's already been conceived during the reign of King Ahaz, and it didn't say anything about a Messiah.
All right. Here's the thing, though. As far as the chart that I got, so this is the Trinities that I got. Currently, today, the Trinity right now is Elohim, Emmanuel, and Asherah. If you go back a couple thousand years ago, the Trinity would have been Elohim, Yahweh, and Asherah, right?
No.
Now, here's the thing. Hold on, let me finish.
Oh,
Yahweh
boy.
is a storm god. He's the god of lightning, right?
He's not. That's
So,
Baal.
no, Baal is Yahweh's brother. Yahweh and Baal are sons of Elohim. You
I
that
can
in the Dead
see
Scrolls.
why you would think that, but that's not the case. And the Dead Sea Scrolls don't describe that at all. So what we find is that the documentation we do have seems to suggest that Yahweh was in fact part of the pantheon, originally a brother of Baal. But we're talking
Yep.
about what the Bible says. The Bible says that Elohim is superior to Baal. That Baal basically is nothing. And Baal is a storm god, both seemingly in the Bible and also in the Ugaritic literature, the Canaanite literature. So Baal has always been a storm god. That's why he's centered around a mountain that's known for storms. And it's also why he shows up in the Hittite text. He shows up in the Syrian text. He shows up in the Akkadian text, all of which as a storm god. That's his character. If you read the Ugaritic text, where we figure out who Baal is, and we learn about the pantheon you're referring to, the pantheon underneath El, in that text from Ugarit, the Baal cycle, it's called, you'll discover that he is in fact the storm god, and he gets his position in the pantheon by supposedly defeating death. Although I think it's bullshit. His sister Nath was the one who actually technically defeated death because Baal got his butt handed to him by Mot. But that's a whole nother story. So my point is, there's no such thing as a trinity in any of these religions. A trinity is a Christian concept. There were definitely typically a couple gods
Triads.
that were high up at the hierarchy, but certainly no trinity.
Yeah, but they all had all ancient religions had triads. They didn't call them trinities; they call them triads. And so this is what I wanted to show you. The Phoenicians, they believed in these Canaanite gods, and they believed in this Trinity. And I found
they don't.
this Trinity. Wait, hold on. Let me just explain myself. I found this Trinity all over the world. So, for example, like I said, Elohim is God, Yahweh is the son, and Asherah is the queen. If you go to Scandinavia, Odin, he's the All-Father. Frigga, she's the Holy Mother, and they have a son. He's the god of lightning. His name's Thor. If you go to Mesopotamia, Anu, he's the sky god, the father of the gods. Antu, she's the Holy Mother, and they have a son. His name's Enlil, and he's the god of storms. All right.
It's not universally true. It's important to recognize that the pantheons change form over time. So there's actually a husband, wife, or a man consort overneath Anu at certain points. It just kind of depends on what you're reading.
Now let me finish. Hold on. Now we're gonna go to India. We got Brahma, the father, the creator, right? And we got Vishnu, and then we got Shiva the destroyer. Shiva the destroyer is the god of lightning, god of storms. All right. Now let's go to ancient Greece. We got Cronus.
So I think you're doing too much here.
Then we got Rhea.
Ancient pantheon. Hold on, buddy. Just take a breath. All of the ancient pantheons had gods that explained all the naturalistic phenomenon. Zeus was in charge of the lightning. Kronos was in charge of other stuff. Who was in charge of the water in the Greek pantheon? I forget. It was
Inky.
And Tiamat was
Greek. You're talking about Greek.
It was
Poseidon. Yeah.
There we go. Poseidon. Yeah. In Babylonian, it was Tiamat, or Tahom, depending on what time period you're in.
But how would you explain?
Hold on. All of these pantheons have gods that are in charge of all of the different elements on the earth. That's not a question, right? So what you're doing is you're selecting 3 gods from each of these pantheons and just calling them triads, but that's not the case. A lot of these gods were on equal footing, and sometimes there were hundreds of them. So it would not be correct to say that there's a triad in any of these religions except for Hinduism. That's the one religion that seems to have some kind of a triad prior to Christianity.
Yeah, but you let me just finish on the Greek ones. You know, you got Cronus, he's the father. Rhea, she's the Holy Mother, and then you got his son, Zeus, and he's the god of storms. I just think this it's not a coincidence that you got Yahweh, Thor, and Leo, Shiva the Destroyer, and Zeus as the son, the Holy Son, and he's the storm god, god of war. I just don't think
Now,
that's
let me
coincidence.
chime in real quick here because we have a Trinity right here, right now. We're fulfilling the prophecy of Trinity on this stream. Totally kidding. But let's try our best because we're going into the rabbit trail that is relevant to the prophecy that we're ultimately trying to engage here. What our goal with this stream was, John, was trying to get Christians who believe that the Old Testament or New Testament is fulfilling some kind of prophecies for Jesus. Emmanuel, as Justin just pointed out earlier, is simply a character of a person under a king, Ahaz, in the Old Testament. What Christians typically do is say, well, listen, that's typology, it's double fulfillment, or they come up with some other way to still make Emmanuel Jesus. And in the passage he read, this kid would eat curd and honey. I didn't see that. I saw that for John the Baptist, but I didn't see, or at least I saw honey, but I didn't see that for Jesus in the context of that Old Testament Isaiah quote. So what we're doing with the show, John, is we're trying to push back on the idea that Jesus is an actual fulfillment of prophecy from the scriptures. And we've already had a few callers who've gone into rabbit trails. And look, we'll have future episodes. We can have wild nights where we can go off into triads and dyads and all the cool stuff that, like a lot of the myth stuff that we do here at Myth Vision. But we're primarily trying to deal with prophecy. Did Jesus make predictions and they actually come to pass? Did he fulfill predictions? That's what we're trying to aim at, man. And if that's not something you're trying to do, I totally respect it. I'd prefer engaging with people who are wanting to do that, though.
Awesome. No, I understand. I'm not really I'm not too into the prophecies, so I can't really give you guys the questions. But thank you for giving me the time. I just wanted to talk to you guys and get that off my chest. And I want to thank your friend for explaining to me. You taught me a lot of things in these couple of minutes. So I just want to say thank you, guys.
Would you be opposed to 2 book recommendations that I think that'll be short reads and you'll actually like?
Sure.
There's one by Joel something or another. I'll get his last name. It's called An Assessment of Biblical Elohim. And this is a really well-received book within the academic community. I'm going to grab it real quick. It was Joel Burnett. In fact, I'll put it up here.
There you go.
So Joel Burnett actually turned his PhD dissertation into a purchasable text. It's phenomenal. It's short. It's not that long. He does a really good job of demonstrating what we should understand the name Elohim to be. And I think you'll be surprised as to what it actually means. The other thing I would recommend is the Baal Cycle, and there's a couple versions out there. My favorite right now, there might be a better one coming out soon, is by Mark S. Smith. I will apologize that it's probably expensive. Right now it's like $250, but there are other translations you can get that are way cheaper. I highly recommend reading the Baal Cycle if you want to know something about the Canaanite religion. I think you'll learn more from just reading the Baal Cycle than you'll learn from reading like any other text about Canaanite religion, that is.
There's free ones online too. Just go on the websites. You can find a translation. It may be a little dated, but it's free. And they're fun to read, especially when you're looking for names of deities and looking for connections. You'll have a hoot, John.
All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thing. Cheers, buddy.
Bye.
There's actually a really fun story, Derek. I'm sure you've heard of it in the Baal Cycle where Yahweh gets like blackout drunk, or not Yahweh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
El gets blackout drunk and is like wallowing in his own filth.
Yeah, he practically, it sounds like in the text, like he died. In a way, the language describes him as if he's dead. And this is where I found a connection between Noah's nakedness, actually. A lot of people have this mystery of like, where did Noah's nakedness come from? And I've looked at Greek examples with Uranus or Kronos and all that. And then, but if you look at that Ugaritic one, this Canaanite heritage that might go back, his family looked at him in his drunken state with respect. They did not shame him in his drunken state. And here you have Noah in a drunken state, and one of his sons saw his nakedness. What does that mean? Maybe they left it ambiguous. Maybe it's a euphemism for something. But yeah, man, I think that L example might be something that Noah's story is riffing directly off of. I don't know. There might be an in-between too. Who knows?
I agree with you. And actually, if you get really familiar with the Bell cycle, one thing that you're definitely going to notice is Isaiah. Especially first Isaiah. Whoever wrote first Isaiah knew the literature of the Canaanites and the Syrians very well. He is touching on stuff that you'll find in the Canaanite literature, and you can't miss it. Like even there's a section in the Bell cycle where it talks about how death has an insatiable appetite that will open its mouth and swallow everything up. And there's even a funny quote where it says that death, takes his place at the table and eats whatever it wants with both hands. It's kind of a cool personification. We even see something similar to that in the book of Isaiah, where he talks about death. But anyways, my point is, there's one really fun chapter in Isaiah where he seems to be touching on this Ugaritic Syrian mythology of Athtar the Terrible. You and I might have talked about this in the famous "This must be about the fall of Satan" passage in Isaiah 14.
Yeah, this ties into Athar, Ishtar, the male counterpart to Ishtar, and a polemic. Clearly, the author knew, the readers would have known, jabbing at the Babylonian king. Really, this was the example. It's like a famous example in mythology that they turned it into a jab at the king himself. But you wrote the script for that.
I think I did.
You don't remember?
Dude, I produce so much content. Like it just.
I know. I'm like, bro, like you're talking to the guy who edited the video you wrote. How could you forget it? You wrote the damn thing.
Dude, we've done between you and I, we've done so much content. Sometimes it's easy to forget like who did what and where it went.
Exactly. No, I totally get it. I forget, like I'll write a script 6 months ago, handwritten, typed out the whole 9, researched, and then still like 6 months later, I've done too many scripts, too many episodes. Like, oh man, I can recall it if I come across it again, but it's not like from memory. I can just every bit of it. Yeah.
Check out this quote from Isaiah 5. When I read this, I was like, oh, this guy knows the Baal cycle for sure. When he talks about Sheol or death, he says, therefore Sheol has enlarged its appetite and has opened its mouth beyond measure. The nobility of Jerusalem and her multitude go down, her throng and all who exalt her. Like, that's what happened to Baal. That's the Baal cycle, baby.
I love that story, actually. I think anyone who's serious should go read Gilgamesh, should go read the Bell cycle. Akkad, that's another story in the Ugaritic in the Ugaritic text. The Karet, I don't know. Many people don't know about these stories. Keret. They're really interesting. Really interesting. I recommend all of that. There's a book. Actually, I put up here.
Yeah.
Here, this here. This is one I've been working on. I don't know if you've come across this one, Justin. By the way, Rilo in the back, do you have a camera by any chance? Have you seen this?
I haven't done that one yet. No.
Oh, you're muted.
Who wrote that one?
Unless it's me.
Oh, am I?
Let me ask the chat.
Can
the chat hear me?
I bumped my microphone. Hopefully it didn't cut me out. Someone in the chat, let me know if you can hear me.
Let me take my earbuds out and see if I put them back in, if it works. You can hear me though, right?
I can hear you, and the chat says they can hear me too. It might be your earbuds cut. Let's see if that's any better. Guys, we took out Derek. He's done now.
And I have AirPods.
We're taking over the stream.
What's going on, man? This happens. I hate this. All right, I'm going old school, bro. I'm going old school.
Do it.
I don't want to play games. This has happened to me before, and I don't know why. Let's see if this works.
It's probably an issue with the browser itself. My browser goes back and forth with permissions all the time.
Well, it looks like I can hear you now. I just
Should
need
be
these
good.
clunky, big old clunky headphones now. But oh well, it is what it is. Yeah. So anyway, this book, man, definitely check it out. They believe they found in Ugaritic 2 Ugaritic tablets, KTU 1100 and
Okay.
KTU 1107. Fun, very interesting hypothesis. They think they found the Canaanite Adam and Eve myth. You know how scholars have been scratching their head. You can find all the elements, right? Enkidu. You could cherry pick from various Babylonian stuff. We could find it all over the place. But they go, no. And if you just go to the end of the book, they give you their translation of the actual Canaanite tablets. And they argue a case that we have found, which it's disputed, it's debated, but they think they found it. So I don't know.
That's the hard part. Like we've got this literature from Ugarit, and it's like if we just had more of it, some of these speculative claims could be put to rest. But we've got enough of it that we're like, hey, there's some real connections going on here. Maybe something's going on. But like I'm hopeful that one day we'll find more tablets. And we'll keep building on our knowledge base. Like even like the tablets from Anatolia, the city of Al-Alach. I mean, those were discovered in the 50s. It wasn't that long ago. Like we can still discover more tablets.
Yeah, 100%. There's so much we probably don't have. We've lost more than we have probably. And yeah, I'd actually talked to a scholar just day before yesterday. Yesterday. It was with Brian Doak. I mentioned his name as Doak, and he let me do the whole intro. And he's like, it's not Doak, it's Doak. But he pretty much agrees with me that the Phoenicians, we've lost almost everything they have. Like we have some inscriptions, but bro, the Phoenicians probably had the intermediary fossil that we wish we had when it comes to the mythic antecedents behind the Old Testament, or at least a lot of the myths that we find in the Old Testament,
Right. True.
I'm trying to get Rilo in the back to just show us his image before we pull him up. And the only reason is I just want to be careful. This isn't something you have to keep up. I just want to be careful because I want to protect our channel from bringing any random person on the stream who doesn't show an image. And then last second, they try to who knows?
Right.
So
I'm
just
get
trying
that.
to be smart. I ask if you're going to come on to defend Jesus, the prophecies or whatever, be prepared to at least show your face, show something so that I know that you're, you know what I mean?
I
You're
do
legit.
have a book recommendation for the audience. Now, Derek, you and I are in a really lucky position that we can buy some of the harder to get books with the ancient mythologies. But I do try to keep a couple on hand that I know anyone can pick up for 10 or 12 bucks. This is one that will not for long from now might be available in the public domain. It's hard to say. But this is a really good text if you want to read some of these ancient mythologies. It's called Near Eastern Religious Texts Relating to the Old Testament. Not to be confused with the one from James Pritchard. James Pritchard did a bigger volume called Ancient Near Eastern Texts Relating to the Old Testament. This is different. The one by James Pritchard I have behind me, that was $150. I get that not everyone's got that laying around, but this smaller volume is a little more concise. And I got this copy, like I bought mine used for like $12. It's abundant. They produced a ton of them. It's from the Old Testament library, and it's full of a lot of these myths that Derek and I are talking about. It's got the creation mythologies, multiple mythologies from Babylon. It's got hymns. We've got Egyptian hymns, Babylonian hymns. It's got the famous stories like parts of the Baal cycle. It's got the epics that we're referring to, and a bunch of other stuff. So if you want a cheap introductory into some of these texts, this is not an exhaustive book. It's not going to have everything, but it's got a lot. And if you really want to read these and you've got a couple dollars banging around in your pocket, this is a cheap way to do it from the Old Testament library.
Absolutely. Listen, just speaking to the guy backstage, Rilo, I'm not going to pull you up. I just need to see your face to know that there's a human behind this and it's not like some bad account. So I won't pull you up. They need to remain anonymous, and I get that. That's fine. But I would need to see you at least in the backstage here myself just before I try to pull you up. So I get it. But yeah, if
Blue
you could
says,
do that.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Blue says that they can't take me seriously because I have a bottle of hot sauce and a taco behind me on the shelf.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Well, you have God behind you on the shelf too.
I
mean,
do. I got all kinds of stuff on my shelf.
Can you explain what you have in your shelf? Rilo, I see you, man. You don't have to keep it open. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. So my shelf is full of we're going to call memes from my channel. I've got Alf. That's the cat-eating alien that is constantly trying to eat my cats. Then we've obviously got fake gods like the Easter Bunny. Then we've got taco and hot sauce that was inspired by my favorite food and a hot sauce challenge that I did. And also over here we've got a bobblehead of me branded the DZ Godslayer. We've got Doug and Sharon Stone, the foundation of all foundations. And then after that, we've got the life-granting unicorn and Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe, all parts of a pantheon.
Dude, you're awesome. You're awesome. All right, so I saw Rilo. I'm happy. Let me kick your other version out. Okay, there you go. Okay, we're gonna bring our guest on. You ready?
Let's have it.
Awesome, Rilo. Good to meet you.
Hey, what's up, dudes? Thanks for having me. I'm a Christian, and I wanted to direct you to Isaiah 35:5. If you have
Cool.
Somebody could read that.
Yes, we'll pull it up. Did you want to share the screen, Justin, or?
Oh, yep, I gotcha. Yep, let me grab it right here.
You're probably so used to it already on your system.
Yeah. Okay, so Isaiah 35:5 is interesting. We're pretty familiar with this one. We'll read it out for you, and then we're probably going to read a little bit extra. Then the eyes of the blind shall be opened, and the ears of the deaf shall be opened. Then the lame shall leap like a deer, the tongue of the speechless sing for joy. For water shall break forth in the wilderness, and streams in the desert. The burning sand shall become a pool, and the thirsty ground springs of water. Haunts of jackals shall become a swamp, and the grass shall become reeds and rushes. A highway shall be there, and it shall be called the Holy Way. The unclean shall not travel on it, but it shall be for God's people. No traveler, not even fools, shall go astray. No lion shall be there, nor shall any ravenous beast come upon it. They shall not be found there, but the redeemed shall walk there. So this is a pretty famous passage, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming you think verse 5 and 6 are talking about Jesus because he healed people?
Well, yeah, if you could just now real quickly match Isaiah 35:5 and interlink that with John, if you can open John 9:32, and just it's just a quick statement of record, a historical record.
But we're not disputing that the New Testament claims that Jesus healed people.
But
So
this isn't just like, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Never since the world began has it been heard that anyone opened the eyes of a person born blind. But that's certainly not true. Actually, there's a case in Tacitus Antonius where Emperor Vespasian heals the eyes of a blind man using spit and the power of Serapis.
So I'm not familiar with that, but I'm in medicine, so we know that biologically and in the internal operating system, if the optic nerve is dead, there's like no ability to regenerate that tissue. So based on like medicine, modern medicine, and the understanding that we have, there's absolutely, it's impossible to reinstate this function when it's lost. So I know you're making that claim, but we're talking that might be a little bit from like an outside space. What I wanted to just focus on here is that Isaiah 35 was before Christ. It was talking about something very, very, very defined, and it has parameters. They're talking about opening the eyes of the blind, and then in John 9:32. This Jewish person, from what I read, is claiming never in like the history of their understanding has anybody with this condition, with blindness, ever been able to see again. So that's this isn't like a general like healing. This is very particular. It's specific and complex information, which puts you guys in a kind of like on the defensive to explain this.
Oh no, it's not hard at all. You want my explanation?
Well,
I'm more than happy to
yeah,
give it
I
to
want to
you.
hear.
Okay,
For
so
sure.
I don't think Isaiah 53 has anything to do with the Messiah healing people's eyesight. It's clearly about the return of the exiles to Jerusalem, which is why the Bible Publication Society, whoever did the NRSV, I forget the name of the society, just labeled it as such. Right? It says, "The wilderness and the dry land shall be glad; the desert shall rejoice and blossom. Like the crocus, it shall become abundantly." It shall blossom abundantly and rejoice with joy and shouting. The glory of Lebanon shall be given to it, and the majesty of Carmel and Sharon. They shall see the glory of the Lord and the majesty of our God. It talks about how the land is going to be entirely restored. This is what's supposed to happen when God comes to redeem the exiles and bring them back to the land, specifically the ones that are coming back from the Babylonian exile, right? That's why it says he will come with vengeance, with terrible recompense. He will come and save you. Well, yeah, because he's freeing them from Babylonian exile and bringing them back to the land, a land that's going to be completely restored. That's why the majority of this verse is talking about the land. No lion shall be there, nor any ravenous beast will come upon it. They shall not be found there, but the redeemed will walk there. This is an interesting thing because, like, this is a real legitimate prophecy that's like waiting to be happened. And none of it's happened. I understand that if you're a Christian, you want to point to verse 5 and be like, verse 5 means this entire prophecy's been fulfilled. But this prophecy is not really just about a dude coming along and healing blindness. This is about the people of God being ransomed from Babylonian exile and coming back to Zion with singing and everlasting joy in their heads, which certainly couldn't be related to Jesus. When Jesus was here, his people got scattered.
So there's a big problem with your bias. It's a very Jewish bias that you have.
No, it's not.
Because if you can give me descriptions of people who were lame, mute, deaf, and blind upon these occurrences or these events in Judaism and their records, then you might have something. But the very particular.
I don't think you understand my argument.
Information here.
Do you understand my argument?
Yes, I do.
Marlo?
But you're moving. Yes, you're moving into.
Do me a favor and kind of repeat what you think my argument is, because I sense you don't get it.
You're.
Did he break up?
The Lord took him? What happened?
Rilo, you broke up. We can't hear you.
Rilo? Huh.
I don't know. We lost him.
The Lord didn't heal his connection, apparently.
Jeez. That's unfortunate. It was starting to get juicy.
Yeah, right? I mean, I thought we were going to get into the nuts and bolts of the text. That's my favorite part.
Yeah, he said you had a Jewish bias.
Yeah, it's weird that every time I read the text and just say, hey, here's what the text says, I become Jewish. It's almost like a Jewish bias is reading the entire text.
Yeah, that's weird. Maybe he'll pop back in I'd like to finish that before we move to our next guest. Yeah, I was thinking too, the other thing that's absent from that Isaiah text is that Isaiah doesn't say they were born blind. Okay. So what's John up to? And anyway, I just did a little search while you were doing that. There's some critical scholars who actually think John is intentionally amping up the miracle, likely in conflict with the Asclepius miracles of old. One of the pools at Bethsaida, was a pool that often was attributed to the miracles of Asclepius, where the lame man who can't get in the waters and waits for the wind to blow the water so they can heal him. But we didn't get our chance to do that. Oh, Rilo,
I think he's back.
Okay, here we go. Rilo.
Sorry, dude. Sorry. I'm driving home from work. I'm hands-free, but I don't know what happened. The phone dropped and I lost you. Sorry. So can I just continue real quick? And then I'll
Sure.
Stillman Justin's view, please, if you don't mind.
No, what I'm saying is his historical account is missing data, in particular specific data information that's very important and critical here. And that is, he's talking about a geographic land, okay, the healing. He's associating it with real events. But the data is missing about the health impossibilities that occurred. I'm telling you to give me data of these medical impossibilities occurring during those events. If you can do that,
During what events?
you can show me the event that you're describing in ancient Hebrew
Oh
history.
no, I think you're confused.
That's why Justin
I-
was asking you to still, man. Because go ahead. Justin.
Yeah, exactly. You don't understand my position. I'm not saying that this prophecy was fulfilled. I'm saying that the plain reading of this text is clearly a prophecy that was not fulfilled and will never be fulfilled because this God doesn't exist.
So, but I just showed you John 9:32. This is a historical
And-
account of the
and you-
enemies of Christ.
It's adorable
so-
that you think that fulfilled it,
But-
but unfortunately the text of Isaiah 35 says more than just some blind people will see again. There's a whole list
Yeah,
of
right.
requirements in this prophecy, and
Yes,
Jesus
the
didn't
deaf will
fulfill any of
hear.
them. In fact, when Jesus was around, he did the opposite.
because no, he did the absolute all those four medical impossibilities, the lame walking, the deaf hearing, the blind seeing, and the mute speaking, all four only he has done in history. There's no
Well,
accounts.
Well,
That's
again,
ridiculous.
So you're missing.
yeah,
So
you weren't
you have the
listening.
data.
You weren't listening to Derek. Again, these aren't things that haven't been recorded with other people. It's been recorded with a bunch of other people,
Okay.
but that's missing. Hold on, Rilo. That's missing the point.
That's just a claim.
My-
That's just a claim.
I will prove it. My point here is that the prophecy itself could not have been fulfilled by Jesus because there's stuff in here that opposes even the story of Jesus. So
No.
you can't just hold on. You can't just pick one verse out of a whole chapter and call it completed and then ignore the rest of the chapter. There's a whole list of things that are included in this prophecy that Jesus didn't do. And in fact, the opposite thing happened when he was here, namely what we find in verse 10. The ransomed of the Lord shall return and come to Zion with singing. Everlasting joy shall be upon their heads. Again, Isaiah prophesies on like 9 different occasions that the Babylonian exiles are going to be coming back to Israel. They're going to be restored to the land.
So that's not our understanding of what you're looking through a very Jewish bias. You don't
No, I'm not.
have an understanding of what. Yes,
I'm not
your
Jewish.
bias is, yeah, but your bias is in the reading of this text.
My
So
bias
you
is
can't see.
my bias is that when a text gives you 5 different requirements for a prophecy, it doesn't come true because you fulfilled one of them.
No, it's not one. It's 4 medical impossibilities. 4, and
Well,
you have it, and literally
Well, again,
occurring
there's only 2.
to what?
There's only 2 listed in verse 5. Says the eyes of the
No,
blind shall be opened, and
and
the
the
ears
si-
of the. Do you want me to read the
and go
text
to
to you or
6.
not? Do you want me
Sorry,
to read the
yeah,
text
and
or not?
verse 6.
There you
Sure,
go.
dude.
The eyes of the blind shall be opened, the ears of the deaf shall be opened, the lame shall leap. That
Okay.
part of the first 2, okay? If you're blind and deaf, you're lame. The tongue
No,
of
you-
the
no, it's
speechless.
not. That's not
hold
true.
on. Hold on.
They need paralysis.
Do you want me to read your book to you or not? Okay, then the lame shall leap like a deer, and the tongue of the speechless will sing for joy. So you've got lame people. Lameness manifests itself in multiple ways. The last way is that the tongue of the speechless, meaning those who can't actually speak, the mute. So you've got mute people, you've got deaf people, and you've got blind people. All of them count as lame people. And what I'm
No, they
suggesting,
I'm in medicine.
Riley,
don't know what you're talking about.
I'm sure you are in medicine. All you need is basic English.
Just don't make claims about medicine that you don't know.
You-
Just move
I
on to
didn't.
the next topic.
Do you want me to give you the dictionary definition of lame?
Lame has to do with neurological function. It's not. It doesn't have to do with specific senses.
Lame typically
but-
refers to with an inability to function. So, for example, if a leg is broken on an animal, it becomes lame. It's not functional anymore.
Yes, not the eye or the ear.
There you go.
Those
So
are
lameness,
deaf and blind patients.
lameness can manifest in multiple ways. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that these aren't like really cool miracles. All right. This is not important to the argument. None of this rests on the definition
It's
of
very
lame.
important.
No, it's not. Nothing about what we're doing rests on the definition of the word lame. What I'm suggesting is that the entire chapter is laying out a picture of what's going to happen. What you've done is you've selected only 2 verses in the entire chapter, and then you're just claiming that it came true while ignoring the rest of the verses. So my question
All right,
is,
can I talk now?
when do the rest of the verses come true?
Hold on. You said I'm claiming they came true. I just showed you that the enemies of Christ and Christians, the Jewish people at that time, especially the Pharisees, they just made the claim. They, based on historic, like on a real-time event, based on real data, they said, we have never seen anyone open the eyes of the blind before.
Buddy, you're
Except
missing the
Jesus.
point
So-
here. We're not talking
hold
about
on,
what
hold
the
on.
New Testament says yet. I'm asking you about the entire prophecy. What I'm asking
But
you is,
you don't have the
giving-
authority to interpret that.
I do, and now I have the authority to mute you. I do have the authority. Between you and I, only one of us has an actual degree in this field of study. So what I'm saying is, you've got an entire chapter of prophecy. You can't just say the prophecy is fulfilled because 2 verses in the chapter sound like something that somebody fulfilled later on. I'm asking you about the rest of the chapter. Did Jesus fulfill the rest of the chapter or just these 2 verses?
You can't get past this point. This point destroys your worldview, because
It actually
this
isn't
right
a
here,
point yet. I'm waiting for you to answer my question
Yeah,
so we can move
it's-
on to the New Testament. So again, we can't move on to the New Testament until you understand the Old Testament context. So again, I will ask you, is the entirety of this chapter
but
fulfilled or only the 2 verses that you like?
your interpretation of what's occurring there has
I
to do with
asked you
Jewish
a simple question
bloodline.
and I need an answer
We don't
to
believe.
it.
Yeah, I'm
Has
saying
the
no. It
entirety
has been
of this
fulfilled.
chapter
It has been fulfilled in the church.
Okay,
in the
then what I
Christian
need
church.
you to do,
Yes,
there we go. We found
has
it.
been
Words
fulfilled.
don't mean words. So the ransomed that are coming back to Zion aren't coming back to Zion. It's a spiritual Zion. Words don't mean words anymore, except in verse
Oh.
6. In 5 and 6, those words mean words because we need the blind to be blind, the deaf to be deaf, the lame to
this
be
how-
lame. We need the speechless to be speechless, but every other part of this verse is metaphor. It's words don't mean words. It's spiritual.
No,
Do you think
it's not.
that's
It's not metaphor.
do you think that's a consistent way to read a
This guy
text?
doesn't let me talk. You don't have consistency. You have no consistency.
No,
I just showed you that
do.
a prophecy was filled, and you say it's
It
a
wasn't.
claim. But these Jews,
I didn't say that.
it literally is. I
You
just
still
showed
have
you
no
John
idea what
9:32.
you still
That's-
have no idea what my argument is yet. You have nothing.
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't hold any
So-
weight to this fulfillment.
so
you guys
what
asked
I'm-
about fulfillment.
What
I'm showing you it,
asking
and
you
you're
right
running.
now is why should we believe that all of this chapter is spiritually interpreted except for the 2 verses you like?
See, are you sure you have a degree? That's like the most basic elementary.
It's actually
What you
not.
just- what
In
you
fact,
just
when
said
we
is like
go
low-
when we go to Bible college and seminary, what they teach you is that context is king, and that you have to use the context and the genre of the passage to interpret it. You don't get to switch back and forth between spiritual and non-spiritual interpretation based on whether or not you like the words. So again, I'm going to ask you:
No,
is there a
it's because
reason
it's-
other than your own theological purpose to go through this chapter and say that all of this is spiritually understood except for these 2 verses?
You talk a lot, but you haven't said anything.
I'm
You
asking
don't
you a
understand.
question. I'm
Yeah.
not asking.
Yeah,
I'm
and
not
I'm-
saying. I'm not saying anything. I'm asking you to answer a question because we can't move forward until you answer the question. Your entire argument rests on the ability to say that some parts of this chapter are spiritually interpreted and some are literally interpreted. And I'm asking you, what would be a good reason to pick and choose which parts of these passages are spiritual and which parts of these passages are literal?
It's not picking and choosing.
Then what is it?
Yeah, you have to understand. You have to understand the Christian operating system. Okay,
I do.
the operating system. You could go. No, you don't. Okay, what? Just tell me if
What is it?
if you understand the
what's
operating system. Give me the gospel.
Practice? What's
Just
the
something
practice?
basic that my kids know.
What's the practice of
What is the
hermeneutics?
gospel?
What's the practice
What's
of hermeneutics that you're employing right now to come with your interpretation?
But let me ask you a question. Let's go to basics. What's the Christian gospel?
That they default to nonsensical things. We're talking about how to interpret text right now.
What
and
is,
it sounds
I
like
want
you're
to
actually
understand.
unable to do so. So what I'm asking you is, what hermeneutical practice, what method are you using to determine that most of this chapter is spiritually interpreted, except for verses 5 and 6?
And I'm asking you a basic question of your understanding of Christianity. What is the Christian
Again,
gospel? Can you
it's
repeat
not
it to me?
related.
You
It's
can't
not
answer.
related.
Yes, it is. Because I'm
First of all,
talking about an operating system.
First of all, I can answer, but I refuse to let you derail the conversation. What we're asking right now is how to interpret this passage. No one's here to worry about whether or not you think you have a superior understanding of the gospel. I'm an atheist. I don't care about the gospel. I care about what the text says, and it sounds like you don't. So I think what we'll probably do next, since you won't engage in actual context, is maybe we can talk. I think Derek and I would like to talk at length about whether or not other people have done these miracles. Would you be interested in whether or not other people have done these miracles?
But it's important here that it's
Would you
recorded.
be
The data is present.
interested in hearing the other miracle stories that
I know that
parallel Jesus's miracle stories?
Rilo, do you
Are you
want to hear
talking
about
to
a
Dick?
God 400 or 500 years before Jesus who is said on stone? It's literally chiseled in stone from the Epidaurus tablets that he performed healing of blind people, lame people, withered hands. People who were like on the brink of death and all sorts of ailments. We have over 140 miracles on those stone tablets. Would you like to hear about some of the miracles that are written on there? Or do you not really buy those stories that are written in a text in the ancient world because you don't have evidence to be able to buy that belief system that you're already not, convinced of to begin with?
No. Okay. I can hear it, but it's a waste of time because we're here.
It is a
showing
waste of time.
you data. No, because why? Because you asked this particular question. You asked about Christ and prophecy. Okay.
Right.
So
right.
But let me just finish. So this is important to understand. I'm giving you specific, complex data.
Right.
That matches. This is.
Do you
understand?
Do you understand? Hold on, Rilo. This is not hard. Do you understand why Derek just said the things that he said? Do you not understand that Derek's words are addressing the topic? Because it sounds like you're just not listening. So Derek is specifically addressing the topic. It'd be nice if you could engage in dialogue with him because it's kind of important to the topic.
Let me respond, Derek. If you have eyewitness accounts and real-time data that correspond to those healings, not a claim from like writings that I'm talking about, real events that are being recorded. Because in the remote past, the way we establish events in the remote past is through accounts, eyewitness accounts. So you give me the eyewitness accounts of your God's, the specific time, the specific place, exactly how we have the exact dialogue and real-time data from these events where Jesus opened eyes of the blind. If you can reproduce that, I'm not talking about a claim that someone did, oh, this God did this, or this God did that. No, give me a real timeline of events with data. Okay,
so
if you have the data, show it.
I think it's important we go contemporaneous to the Gospels because Justin already brought this one up. We have 3 accounts by different historians about Vespasian, the emperor, healing a blind man and a withered hand of a man in the Serapean temple in Egypt. We have historians. And by the way, I would contest your eyewitness claim about the Gospel of John. I would just say I would contest your eyewitness claims for the Gospel of John.
Well, Bart Ehrman would contest with you. Bart Ehrman contest with you. He's way smarter than you.
Bart
Ehrman
most
agrees
of
with
you.
us.
Dude.
No, he
What?
doesn't.
Yes, he
Bart
does.
Ehrman has been on
No, he
Derek's channel
doesn't.
many times. He obviously agrees with us.
Jesus is
What?
not a myth, dude. Bart
No,
Ehrman
that
is
has
saying
nothing to
that's
do with
crazy.
eyewitness. Hold on, what's happening here, Rilo?
This guy's
What's
out of his
happening?
mind.
Bro, what is going on, man? Like, what? How does an eyewitness account contesting the eyewitness account that you are trying to attribute to the Gospel of John, which Bart Ehrman absolutely does not agree with? I know this, and not only him, but the guy who actually works in his office. I could call him right now on the cell phone, Hugo Mendez, who's worked with Bart for 15 years in the same office, who also wrote a
With
book.
the divinity of the Gospel of John.
But listen,
The divinity.
dude, like I'm saying, you're not listening though, and then you jump from that to mythology. Like, that's me and Bart agree. There was a guy, he was mythologized. What did he do? That has nothing to do with the eyewitness claims of the Gospel of John. That's what I'm saying. The Gospel of John's not an eyewitness account. So what you have is an ancient gospel. You have an ancient text that claims in it a story that says this guy performed miracles. And I'm saying we have way more miracle accounts for a god called Asclepius, who had his own temple in just one location in the ancient world. According to the geographer Pausanias, there were 12 tablets. On each tablet, there were 70 miracles each. Today, we only have 2 of those.
Unless you produce the evidence, it's really hard for me to just believe you.
I understand. It'd be very difficult to give you all of the actual miracle claims that are written by academics who've deciphered the Greek Epidaurian tablets that we have today.
I've got them, by the way.
Oh, go ahead. Bring them up.
Yeah, I've got a copy of the tablets, so it's actually not a problem.
Let's do
Let
it.
me zoom in so that we can.
In the meantime, while he searches that,
as it turns out, there are actually quite a few healing stories. Ambrosia of Athens, blind of one eye, she came as a suppliant to the god. As she walked about in the sanctuary, she laughed at some of the cures as incredible and impossible that the lame and the blind should be healed merely by seeing a dream. In her sleep, she had a vision. It seemed to her that the god stood by her and said that he would cure her, but that in payment he would ask her to dedicate to the sanctuary a silver pig as a memorial of her ignorance. After saying this, he cut the deceased eyeball and poured in some drug. When day came, she walked out sound. Huh, what about that? It's almost like we got a bunch of stories of people being healed by Asclepius.
Yeah, can I respond to that?
Sure.
Can I respond to that? That's like a kindergarten version of, like, that's like the worst thing I ever heard. I just asked you
be specific.
for a timeline of real historical
Why is this not
events.
real? Why is this not real?
Do you know the story of Lazarus? Do you know
Why is
how
this
many
not real?
details are in that story? Who's
Why is
there?
this not real? Why is
Because
this not real?
That's a kindergarten. Because it's a kid.
I can't hear you. Say it
kindergarten.
louder. I can't hear you. Speak louder.
Well, if you stop, dude, if you have some, why don't atheists have manners, dude?
I asked you to speak up. I want to hear you.
I don't. Your like mockery is like so weak sauce, dude. Weak sauce.
That is the first thing you've picked up on this entire conversation is you actually catching me making fun of you in real time. So what I'm asking you simply is, why is this account not true?
Do you understand how events in the remote past are?
I'm just asking you for a reason.
Look, there's circumstantial evidence.
You're never gonna say it.
Hold on, with circumstantial evidence with like variations, with slight variation. So you have to have eyewitness accounts that are telling these stories. That's how we
have eyewitness accounts.
No, you don't. You have
we do actually. These are eyewitness accounts that were put in one of the temples, one of the healing houses.
These are testimonials from people in the temples, and they were giving their testimony to the priest to inscribe them on stone.
Okay.
So why don't you accept those miracles?
First of all, can you guys open to John 10:33 real quick? I want to show you because it matters to the understanding of the remote past. Now, circumstantial evidence is how these things are produced, and stories are able to be put together, just like a court of law. That's how things happen. So if you have multiple accounts with data, all I heard was like 2 sentences. This is not data. It was just a claim.
Okay, pull up.
You know what?
Justin, can you pull those back up? Because there's hundreds of them. There's hundreds of them.
It's actually hundreds of different healing accounts inside the text. You're welcome to get the text yourself. In fact, let me see how many are in this particular edition.
There's a total
128.
Yeah, I think there's a total of 140.
And where's the manuscript for whatever you're reading? Where is the manuscript?
It's a stone.
The original manuscript.
It's inscribed in stone.
It's
easy.
Where?
It's in one of the sanctuaries of Asclepius. I believe it's
I think they're in a museum now, though.
So where's the stone? Where's the actual stone?
It's in a museum. Why do you think that?
Are you 100% sure it's in a museum?
Hey,
which museum?
Where do you think the translation came from, bro?
Because this is important. You guys want to talk about manuscripts and evidence.
Where do you think the text came from?
I want to know where the original manuscript, where the original stone is. What museum is it in?
First of all,
now it doesn't matter when you guys are making a claim.
Sir, but you're setting a precedent you can't fulfill. You don't have a single original manuscript of the Bible, so asking for the original manuscript of this is
what we have
absurd.
Is good enough for our Urban.
No, you don't. So again, we have the actual stone. It's in the Archaeological Museum of Epidaurus. That's where it's located right now. You can go see it with your own 2 blind eyeballs if you want.
I've got an image to show.
Oh yeah, go for it, buddy.
Let me just show this because I'm trying my best on the spot, which was not something I was thinking a prophecy show was going to end up bringing up. But I think it's worth him at least laying his eyes on this so that he can take the time to actually go look at the Epidaurus tablets himself. There are academics who translated this Greek so that you could read the accounts of the miracles. I'm trying to zoom in, but it's zooming out. This
Derek, so you guys are telling. Can I just respond? Can I say something? You guys are telling me you've been making these claims for how long? And you had to Google what museum. You didn't even know what museum was in.
Why?
Come on, dude. This is a joke.
What museum is P1? What museum is P1 in? Hey, what museum is P1 and P52 in?
I'm in medicine. I'm a nobody.
Oh, all this.
I'm talking to you. I just schooled you. You don't even know where the stone is. You've been basing your whole career on this.
Rilo, let me ask you a question. So you have to know exactly where every tablet, the Epic of Gilgamesh tablet, the latest version, you have to know what museum that's in order to make the claim that Genesis is lifting potential antecedent text from Gilgamesh or Atrahasis. You have to know the exact museum in order to make that claim. I don't get it. Like, yes, I don't know everything there is to know about the Epidaurus tablets. In fact, I barely.
Well, maybe you should learn about it if you're using it.
I know PhDs. Would you want people who want to understand medical stuff to go to a PhD? I'm trying to tell you, PhDs have highlighted these miracles. There are hundreds of miracles, and that's only with what we have preserved. That's why I was trying to tell you earlier before I got cut off that in the ancient world, the geographer Pausanias said there were 12 tablets. We only have 2 left. Guess how many miracles are on those 2? 140 miracles. Imagine how many miracles we don't have about this one God. And guess what? This is at one temple. Epidaurus. Asclepius temples were all over the Mediterranean world. We have probably, if you count those 12, and let's just say the 2 have
300 of them.
Dude, it's so many. Like, this God was for 500 years healing the blind, the sick, the lame, the deaf, the dumb. Everything under the sun he had been doing according to their testimonies. But you don't accept those testimonies.
What you just gave me was not a testimony.
There's no way over a phone call.
There was no data. No, there was
we just gave you the testimony. We just gave it to you.
Data.
What is
that? There's no data there.
It's literally fucking written in stone.
It's in stone, dude.
Healing testimonies.
Originals.
In stone. We have the original fucking stone.
Not
and you're like,
copies of copies of copies.
The delusions are wild.
So at this point, because you guys didn't even know what museum it is, I'm not going to take your word for it.
Don't.
Yeah, I would run too.
Yeah. Next time, learn what museum it's in before you cite something.
Yes, sir. Will do.
What museum
Anyways.
can we find the first syringe in?
Dude, I'm a nobody Christian. I'm a nobody.
No, I said
spent my life in
syringe.
medicine.
You're a
I
medical
healed the
doctor.
sick.
asking you a
What
medical
museum has the
question.
first syringe? What
I'm not in
museum
the.
has the
I'm not.
first syringe?
I'm not. I don't study the history of medicine. I take
What are you,
care
a
of
fucking
HIV
chiropractor? You're a real
infected
doctor?
patients. I take care of HIV infected patients. I take care of the sickest
Okay,
of the sick.
so then you
So
don't
anyways,
know what museum houses the first syringe?
You just cited it. I'm not
I would
trying
not
to
go
fight
to this guy as a
about
doctor.
a
I'm going to
syringe.
Asclepius. Take me to Asclepius.
Yeah. Well, what do
Listen,
you do?
Derek, can you go to John 10:33 real quick so I can just show you something? How specific complex information works and why your worldview is falling apart. You guys don't have the data.
Actually, you don't even
Don't
know.
have the data like this.
We actually do. We have lots of data, and we've
Can you go to
demonstrated
John
that
10:33
literally in real time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm there though. Just saying. I'm actually
Mhm.
playing nice here. I'm at John 10:33. The Jews answered, "It is not for a good work that we are stoning you or going to stone you, but for blasphemy, because you though only a human or man are making yourself God." So, do you believe the Jews are accurate here? Do you believe the Jews are right?
Yeah,
in
that's
their
my
assessment?
question to you. These are the enemies of Christ. Why?
Right. So you trust them. that
Why
he
are
claimed
they
to be
saying
God.
this?
But you trust the Jews here that he's claiming to be God. Right?
Because it corresponds to John 8:58, where Jesus says he uses the name of the true. He
Right.
uses the I am in Exodus 3:14. So there's a correspondence. You don't have this correspondence in data. You don't
know what
because this
correspondence
data
means. You're using that word wrong.
Yeah.
I doubt
Yeah.
you finished grad
Yes,
school.
it
This is just not
corresponds.
good.
Information links. It's interlinking.
Oh.
It's interpersonal.
Yeah, that's what the New Testament's trying to do. That's the whole point of this show. It's trying to tie back. But I would recommend checking out some of the scholarship that actually points out that the enemies of Christ here are misunderstanding Jesus like they have in every other context. But this one time Christians interpret this text, oh, he's claiming to be God. Oh, so the Jews are right this time. And if you just read every other time, they're not right. So this is a complex matter. But by the way, if you just read in the Greco-Roman material, you'll find out Asclepius was a son of a god, Apollo. His mother was a mortal woman impregnated and had a similar divine birth as we see with Jesus. My thing is that's all out the window. It's
that means it can't be a derivative. If he has a mother, it can't be a derivative of our system. Our operating system is interpersonal love, not generation from like physical means. We have eternal relational love.
I don't understand what that.
So
both Jesus
our God is
and
love.
Jesus and all these other gods that I'm describing have mortal moms. Like these demigods
and it
have
can't
mortal
be.
moms.
Then it can't. No.
Gilgamesh
Because
had a mortal mother and a deified
those gods
father.
biologically produced. Everybody knows Greek gods always were hot for like human women. Yes.
Nope, not every case.
Yes,
no,
they had
not
Greek
every
gods.
case.
Nope.
Even I know that, and I don't know anything about
You
it.
don't know that.
I know. That's why you don't know. You just admitted you don't know, but you said you know something, and then you said you don't know. My friend, just
our
pick
model.
up
If you want to, can I just let me express our model? Our
I
model.
actually would like to talk
love.
about Jesus' mother though when you get a chance.
Okay, just let me say. Our model, Christian model, is love. Okay, God.
No, that's not the case. You're not modeling that at all tonight.
1 John 4:16 says God is love. That's His nature.
Oh, no,
love.
no,
You
you're
don't
not
have
modeling
that.
love tonight.
None of your gods are love.
You don't have that. The irony of you shouting through your phone at us that we don't have love is crazy.
Oh, I'm not shouting at you.
Hold on.
Chill, bro. Jesus loves you, and
Sorry,
I love
I
you.
was choking on the fucking irony of what's happening right now.
So it's about the model, okay? The model is love. It's interpersonal relational.
No, it's not love.
You don't have interpersonal relational love.
The model is love
eternity.
me or I will light you on fire for eternity. Is that love? You think ultimatums of
That's why
eternal
Jesus said
being
when
lit
he
on
was
fire
hanging on the
is
cross,
love?
he said,
What a
Father,
crazy
forgive them.
thing to believe that you think
What?
it's love to
Jesus,
light somebody on fire for all of eternity.
Jesus, who is God in our model, was hanging on the cross and cries out, "Forgive them,
Do you
forgive
have
them," about his
children?
crucifier.
Would you light
Yes,
any of your children on fire?
No, we're not child sacrificers like
Would you?
all the
Yeah, but
others.
do you think it would be loving to light your children on fire?
Okay, dude.
Sounds like you're
I want
caught.
to work with you, bro. I want to work with
sounds like
you,
you
but
don't.
you're like,
Yeah,
Can answer
but
the
you go so
question.
elementary.
But Rilo, it is a
Elementary.
fundamental problem. You're saying God is love. He's questioning the fundamental premise that God is love based on the fact that he's going to eternally punish mortal beings for making these minuscule actions in this very finite and very short existence we have, but he's going to make the punishment and justice eternal. And it's
First of
so
all,
long and horrific. Like,
Derek, if you have children,
yeah,
if you have children and somebody hurt your child or did something, God forbid, so bad, you are worse than God. You would want them to be in. You would want them to be in prison, right?
Nope.
No,
I would not want to put a child in prison, and I sure as fuck would.
No, if someone hurt your child.
No, I don't. I don't want children placed in prisons.
Yes, and now you're lining up with the understanding of Christ, who said that
I'm not.
Children are the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. They're the highest. Children are the highest.
Christ will literally light children on fire. In fact, in Mark chapter 7, he advocated for the killing of children. He chastised the Pharisees in Mark chapter 7 and Matthew chapter 15 for not killing children that cursed their mother and father.
No, he showed their hypocrisy. But what he did say was that children see the face of God, and they have the angels. They're always
do what?
They're always in the presence of God.
The hypocrisy of what?
To pick certain decrees for Moses.
Yeah, exactly. To not follow some of Moses's decrees. He wanted them to follow.
So you have a problem with
Moses's
the Jews, with Moses? Go talk to the Jews. Go talk to the Jews about Moses.
I don't know if you know this. Jesus was a Jew. So what I'm saying is that Jesus.
Oh, now he's a Jew, but the Talmud said that
he won't actually let me. Now I just got it. This is why you keep getting muted. Imagine having this guy at Thanksgiving dinner. This is wild. So what I'm saying is, I agree with you. The Pharisees were being hypocritical because they've got the laws of Moses, and they had other oral traditions that made it so that the law of Moses was nullified. And the complaint that Jesus levied in Matthew 15 and Mark chapter 7 is that here's one example of how your human tradition, the tradition of the elders as it's called, has nullified the commands of God. And then he goes all the way back to Exodus chapter 21, where it talks about having to kill the children if they curse mother and father. And he says, listen, you guys aren't doing this. You're being hypocrites. So what that means is that Jesus' example of them being hypocrites is that they should actually be killing their children.
Dude, Jesus said, let the little children come to me and do not hinder them. And he said that their presence, God's presence, the angel's presence is always around children, and that they're the greatest, the highest in the kingdom. God? And if you don't become like a child, Derek, yes, you heard the Jews. They just told you.
Did Jesus give the laws?
John 10:33 just
did Jesus give? But buddy, these are all fucking rhetorical questions. Just answer them. Did Jesus give the laws in the Hebrew Bible, or did Yahweh give them?
Jesus is Yahweh. He said it in John 8:58.
Okay, so then what that means is that Jesus says to kill the children. Whoever strikes father or mother shall be put to death. Whoever curses father or mother should be put to death. Jesus says those words if Jesus is God. Do you think that's loving?
Yeah, it's important. I think it's more loving the atheist position where you guys.
I love the stutter. I love the stutter. Rather than answering the question, brain misfiring. Oops.
You do you understand what he just said, Rilo?
No, Derek. I'm gonna hand it over to you. I got to use the restroom real quick.
Look,
Justin.
It's a critical law.
God. You're saying Jesus is God. He's the God of the Old Testament. The God of the Old Testament gave these laws. These laws are not very loving. His point is, and he's trying to get you to see, do you think that that's okay? And do you think that's loving, those kind of laws that you're saying God is love? So you
Hold on,
understand
if you
the
go to
logic.
Hebrew, okay, let's answer that with no, logic doesn't exist anyways. It's metaphysical. It doesn't exist in a materialist worldview. So I don't even know why you're relying on logic. But anyways, if you go to
They're
Hebrews,
written down. They're written down in the material world. We can read them. We don't have to pretend
okay,
they're floating
it
out
doesn't
there.
matter. Anyways, so in Hebrews it says the law is not the true reality. The true reality is found in Christ. The true reality of this invisible, extra dimensional, like meaning outside, from another dimension outside time and space.
But you
This
didn't
God,
answer the question Justin just posed.
Christ is the reality of that God, because the law, it was meant, the law is a mirror for sin, which brings death. So you have to. This is a whole complicated framework.
Yeah, but
horizon that we have to paint. You have to understand.
Rilo, why would God command people to stone their kids? Stone their kids. And then you turn around and go, that God is the God I worship called Jesus, and he's loving. Can I ever tell someone to stone their children? And then you tell me, oh, by the way, I am perfect love. I am love. That's the issue. And guess what? You're not the only Christian who has a struggle here. Marcion.
No, I'm not struggling. You're not letting me talk.
So why would
it's not
Jesus
the reality of God? It's not the reality of God. Okay? And it's not the reality of God is Christ, who said love your enemy, who kicked it with prostitutes. He was chilling with prostitutes.
He also said murder your kids.
People. No, he didn't, dude. Come on, bro.
Well, who said it in Exodus 21?
Nobody in the world. Nobody in the world is cooler than some.
Who said it?
Oh my God, we went over that.
But you admit Jesus said that, right, in the law.
Listen. The Jewish nation entered voluntarily into
He'll
this.
Never say it. We need a name.
Yeah,
who
because
said it?
Yahweh. Jesus is Yahweh.
So Jesus said it.
Yahweh said it.
That was easy.
Yeah,
okay,
Jesus
awesome.
gave the law to Moses.
That's what we needed to hear. Okay, so Jesus said to kill your children.
But, dude, oh my gosh, it's so elementary. Jesus.
I know, that's why you can't catch it.
No, because you're not. There's no one cooler than hanging out with prostitutes.
I have a notepad actually. Let me write down some
water into wine at a party.
Because it sounds like you believe in logical premises. We'll say premise number one. This is easy. You can write this down. Premise number one: God gave the law in Exodus 21.
God is love. God is
love. Premise number two is that Jesus is God. Do we agree?
Let me give you the
yes,
God is
love. I'm waiting for you to.
God is not the law.
I'm waiting for
the law is not love.
Yes or no to the premises. In fact, I'll share.
So then, why would a loving God give the law then, Rilo? I mean, you just said the law isn't love, but then he gave it. Why can a perfect loving being really give something that isn't love? I don't get it. It makes no sense.
Give me a second. I'm going to share.
Ahead.
I want to share my notepad with them. Hopefully, maybe if we're lucky, we'll have a moment where we can have a little bit of linear interaction. We'll see. It may or may not work. We'll have to find out. So, Rilo, I'm going to unmute you. I just want you to engage in a couple premises for us and see if maybe we can make some progress. Premise number one is God gave the law in Exodus 21. Do we agree or disagree?
Yeah, but the syllogism is incorrect.
Okay, so it's yes. It's not incorrect yet because there's no conclusion. So premise number two. The law is not God's nature. Premise number two is that Jesus is God. Yes or no? Keep in mind the law of identity is going to cook you if you say no.
Of course. But the
awesome.
problem is the law is not the nature of God.
The conclusion that naturally follows.
Oh, you're talking about nature.
Based on the law of identity, which is that Jesus gave the law in Exodus 21. That's just the law of identity. That's simple logic. You're the one that said you liked logic and we didn't have it.
But the law is not the nature of God.
It's sound and valid.
Dude. We're talking about nature. The nature of God is love.
It's not.
And it is. No, there's no other God that hung on a cross.
The Bible disagrees with you. What does the Bible say is love?
Well,
1 Corinthians
it depends.
13. What's it say?
Yeah, but that's humanly
What's it say?
interrelational love. The true
Oh, so
love is found in Romans.
So
Let me give you the definition.
When the
There's
Bible,
two
when the Bible
definitions.
says God is love, it's a different love than what Paul says in
This
1
is how we
Corinthians
know
13.
love. That Christ
Crazy that you
laid down
have to
his
have
life
two
for us.
different kinds of love now.
No,
Is
dude.
is love?
What was your name, by the way?
Does love
What was your name?
harm? Does love harm?
Romans 13:10 says love does no harm.
I love how he'll never. Okay,
13:10.
exactly. Does
13:10.
love keep a
Pull it up,
Does love keep a record of wrongdoings?
dude. You know 1 Corinthians. Props.
Does love keep a record of wrongdoings? The answer
No,
is
and that's why.
no, according to Paul. There we go. Is Jesus keeping a record of your wrongdoings? Is there a book maybe where all your wrongdoings are being tracked?
No, dude.
Yes.
Oh, come on.
All
Are you
of your
truly a
deeds
scholar?
are going to be recorded. Yes.
No, absolutely
Yes.
not.
How is
Dude.
God holding you accountable for all of your wrongs?
He didn't even hold his own crucifiers accountable.
Do
What
you
are you
not
talking
know
about?
where the Bible says that you're going to be judged according to all of your works?
Yeah, but works is something different. So we're talking
Wrongs?
about nature that is healed and regenerated through Christ.
I don't
But
think you know
wait,
what.
let me just.
When you're being judged according to your works, you're being judged according to what's actually happening, like what you've done. That's why in
Dude, you just
Hosea it
judged
talks
me.
about
You
your
told me I'm
sins
mentally ill.
being.
You're
You definitely are a little bit off. I know quite a few people that would fall into this range. I don't
self-righteous
think
atheist,
I don't think I said that
Pharisee
though.
spirit, whatever. Dude, let me just give you the definition. It said, while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. This is how we know love.
We all know the
okay?
story.
So if he'll forgive the people who killed him, why can't he just forgive everybody at this point? Why do anyone have to punish and go to hell for our eternity?
There is forgiveness. It's already there.
There's
present.
not actually. No,
it's eternal and present, and for the past. That's why he went down to Abraham's bosom. He took even the ones who died.
So everyone that was at the cross became a Christian and followed and worshiped Jesus. Because you're just saying out here, forgiveness is out here. Are you saying everyone is forgiven and there is no hell?
It works like this. There's the New Testament, for those who are not fully understanding at that time, there's a law within us. That law, the Christian law, is love. We don't have the law of Moses. Our law is love. That's the royal law.
Do people go to hell?
In James,
do people go to hell today? Do people go to hell in your beliefs?
The people who want to go to hell, who don't want to be in the presence of love.
So I just don't have to go. If I don't want to.
No, you don't.
Oh, that's easy. Okay.
But why would you want?
Me and Justin don't want to
go then. Yeah, that's easy. Fuck. All right.
I don't want to go.
Well, Christ loves you both, but you don't want that love.
No.
Dude,
we don't.
You don't want love. Love is weakness for you, for atheists. My parents came from a communist.
Not the case.
My wife's in the other room. Okay, she may not be in the mood to do the freaky tonight, but I'm gonna go force my love on her to show her how much I love her, even if she doesn't want to. And
your understanding of love is
comply. Is that wrong? Is that wrong?
Love is freedom. Love is freedom. Love produces freedom. You don't have freedom. You don't understand that. You don't understand love.
The alternative is being burned alive.
Love produces freedom.
But you don't have it then.
Galatians 5:14 it says,
you don't have freedom if the alternative to loving Jesus is being burned alive.
You have an alternative, right? Accept my love or else. That's coercive love. That is coercive.
Hold on. No. Love is freedom.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot. That's why the Islamic world has no freedom, because their God is not love.
How the fuck is Islam in this conversation now? How are Buddhists?
Because we're referencing freedom.
For someone in the medical field, I cannot believe you've gone this long undiagnosed. This is terrifying. Buddy, can you stay on task for 5 seconds? Listen, I've got fucking ADHD and I can stay on task. This shouldn't be hard.
That's funny. Good joke. That was actually pretty funny. All right. So look, the Christian world is the only world where freedom has any understanding. You can't find freedom in the atheist communist world. My parents came from Eastern Europe.
And
They
you'd be
came from a
wrong.
place with no freedom. The
Why is
operating
there no
system was
freedom in atheism? Why is there no freedom in atheism?
Because metaphysics, because you have no love.
Metaphysics?
There's no love. Well, I mean, love
okay,
is non-particle.
So then
There's
it's
no love in the
loving
brain.
to light
You know
your
that,
children
right?
on fire. It's loving to light your children on fire then?
Who said people?
I love it when he gets really quiet and then just doesn't
Hold on,
answer the
hold
question.
on.
All right, here, Rilo, here's what we're going to do, because this has been a really interesting conversation, but it's clear that you only came to preach. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to overtalk you anymore. I'm going to give you a full minute to preach whatever gospel you want to preach, and then we got to move on to the next guest that's been waiting, okay?
That's all right. I just want your viewers to know how much God loves you. I grew up in the.
Oh, sorry, my finger slipped. I didn't mean to. Oh, I guess he didn't get his full minute.
Look, that was a fun ride. Okay, that was fun. Really loud, but fun. Few super chats we need to hit here real quick, Justin. Between, I don't like to leave people hanging, but when we're having entertainment, we got to enjoy it while we can. Andy, thank you so much for the super chat and the 666. Finally diving into learning Hebrew. Are either of you familiar with First Hebrew Primer? If so, what level might that leave me at? Sorry, off topic. I'm not. Justin.
So typically, like the books, like there's more than one, by the way. There's a couple of First Hebrew Primers. This is a very common one, but this is like a it's very basic. This is going to be much of the same. Let me show you typically like what we would use in a Bible college, and this is more organized than a primer, I think.
Let me get you full screen.
Yeah, it's over here on my shelf. And so this is typically what you'll end up with is something like this. This is the Basics of Biblical Hebrew by Gary Practico and Van Pelt. And you'll find that this is more systematized. So typically when you're doing a language as like a novice, or you're just trying to learn how to speak a language so you can go travel to a new country, they typically do like a lot of immersion type stuff. Like you learn a lot of words, you learn a lot of vocabulary, but you don't really know the grammar. If you take it in a school, they'll teach you this way, where you actually have to learn all the grammar while learning the vocabulary. So literally, we start out with the alphabet, vowels, syllabification, nouns, definite articles, prepositions, adjective, pronouns, pronominal suffixes, construct chains, strong verbs, weak verbs, all kinds of other stuff, doubly weak verbs and whatnot, verbal stems, nifal, pial, pual, hofal, isbel, all the good stuff. This is what I would suggest for someone that wants to analyze the Hebrew text of the Bible. But if you just want to go to Israel and like learn a little bit of Hebrew so you can get along and hobnob in Hebrew, yeah, just use the First Hebrew Primer. But if you want to do text analyzation, you got to learn the grammar. You need to know grammar.
Thank you so much, Andy. Pat, thanks for the super chat. Justin, please put your paper degree away.
I'm cooked.
Thank you so much, Agorist Alex. Polyanity. I told my coworker today, Paul is a layer. I think they mean liar. And the embodied and the embodied of the Antichrist. Great reaction. Ironically, agnostic and pushed by Marcion. Ha! Thanks for the videos, Derek. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the super chat. Means the world to see people support what we're doing. Christianum pronounceable. Thanks for the 5. Question: once you're in hell, is there any way to earn redemption and escape? There is. I found a secret code, Justin, but it doesn't count. It's not in the canon, damn it. The Gospel of Peter. In the Gospel of Peter, which it gives you the horrific visions of an apocalyptic afterlife, there is a cheat code in it. And this used to be sermonized, but then eventually they like stopped. It became heretical and they were clearly not interested in keeping it. If you knew a Christian in life and you went to hell, that Christian could get you out of hell free card. I kid you not, bro. And they could get into heaven.
Mm-hmm. Well, this shows up in a couple of locations. In fact, you'll find in Second Maccabees, and it's quoted, in fact, in the book of Hebrews, where a mother loses sons, and she basically discusses this idea. It's kind of glancingly mentioned that somebody's soul can be alleviated from the realm of the dead, and this gets quoted in the book of Hebrews as well about the woman who lost her sons but had a greater hope. So there's definitely this idea of like there is hope even for those who end up in the shadowy abyss. So that's certainly there. Have you familiarized yourself with the harrowing of hell, that whole mythology?
Yes.
There seems to be a lot of people in the early church that understood souls could be taken from hell. They wasn't permanent.
Right. And that's where I think we get kind of the Catholic idea of purgatory and this possibility of moving your loved one's souls. By the way, that's not original to Christianity, which, by the way, was not a Jewish idea. Maybe somewhere in late Second Temple Judaism, there might have been things like you said with Maccabees and like really late Hellenistic influenced maybe stuff. But in the Greek world, we know from Orphic and Dionysian inscriptions, they baptized for the dead, which is in Paul. You do not get that in Jewish writings, which we'd get lost in the sauce here. And I want to move to our next caller. But dude, there's so much information. People should definitely keep studying, keep learning. I love this stuff. Maybe Necro, thank you for the super chat. All hell Doug, the Rock of Ages. Silent all stream and still debating better than the apologist.
Absolutely. Rock hard for Doug. And the last hashtag is new. It's Justin's fucking rock. Which is another inside story. We can cover that some other time. But Necro, allegedly, possibly, maybe Necro. Good to see you, friend. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate the support and helping us keep the lights on, doing what we're doing here. Chris Wyndham also sent a super chat. There is no hate like Christian love. We hear that as a common phrase online. A lot of people will say, look, I think it's really like, what would you call this cliche kind of statement? Obviously, Christians don't mean it to be hateful, but like the ideology itself kind of forces them often to go down this path. And it's not all Christians. Don't let me generalize, okay? There are so many much more chill, relaxed, non-fundamentalist types. But I do get what you're saying when you've engaged enough with them, and I've seen you do live streams. So you're my guest today here on the channel. I'll let you pick from the audience. I ask anyone who doesn't have an image, just show that you have an image so that we know you're not like a fake account. That's all I'm asking. I'm not going to bring you up. If you don't want your face on screen, that's fine. Let me just know it's not fake. And Justin, you get to pick between who you want. I'll let you choose.
Yeah. So I typically bring people in the order that they've been waiting. Byron, I thought was here first, and then Toronto Bible Study after that. So let's grab them in that order. Okay. And then we'll if we have if Archie and Bob are still here, we'll grab Archie and Bob after that.
You control it. You're good, brother. Go ahead.
All right, we're gonna add Byron to the screen. Welcome in, Byron.
Sorry if I had a delay there.
It's okay.
Yeah, so I'm not an apologist. So I just wanted to argue that the premise of a false prophet argument was moot. To me, the problem with the false prophet argument is that it assumes that the Gospels are straightforward historical reporting of Jesus' predictions.
We're not
earlier layers.
We're not taking that approach. I mean, Derek and I don't believe that the Gospels are true. What we're saying is that even if the Gospels were true, Jesus still didn't fulfill any prophecies.
Right, but I guess my case is that the apocalyptic language, like in Mark 13, may be more reflective of how the communities interpreted historical catastrophic things like by the Romans or imperial crisis.
Are you saying that
in other words,
you're
scripture
saying
was used? Sorry. The life events through scripture is rather is not documented a prophet whose timetable failed. It's just put in there to emphasize things that they could bring up from their own crisis. Like
So
in
what's your
many
claim?
ancient
I don't.
traditions.
What is your? What are you ultimately trying to claim? Like, what we're saying is that the New Testament authors are obviously crafting a Christ using Scripture through a Pesher kind of midrashic style thing, but they're butchering it really, really bad doing it and spiritualizing stuff that was meant to be literal in the Hebrew Scriptures. Often land promises, literal, actual historical events, no more war, no more suffering, all these kinds of things the Messiah was supposed to establish. But then when you get to Mark 13, are you saying that the language there is metaphorical for the social, political, or geopolitical Jewish Roman war or something? I'm trying to understand.
Yes. I mean, Mark 13 looks like a crisis literature shaped around the destruction of Jerusalem and imperial trauma. I mean, if the narrative framework is composed after the crisis, then the prophecy language functions as an interpretation of events rather than predictions of them.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Justin.
I mean, Derek and I would probably agree with this. It's just not really part of the topic we're discussing tonight. This is a really fun topic. Derek and I definitely would love to dig into. It's just not really necessary to do it for this argument.
I'll make one comment. I'll make one comment here, though. I think it's worth it. You've waited a long time, Byron, and I think you've been a gentleman this entire time since coming on. There are scholars, John Collins, who's recently going to have a published paper where he's actually critiquing N.T. Wright, who tries to do this kind of thing where he says the language isn't literal, it's apocalyptic language, it's symbolic for the Roman-Jewish war, and that pretty much encompasses the fulfillment. Well, I got two things to say to that. John Collins totally takes them apart using Second Temple heuristic approaches of looking at this, the way Jews interpret all this material at the time in the late Second Temple period. But you'd have to take his word by reading and actually seeing the critique. And it sounds like you're someone who would look into that. But the other problem is if the Roman-Jewish war is it, my God, I mean, what is so special at the end of the day for Jesus? What is there to really cherish? And this is the problem I've had with people who kind of do a spiritualization of this whole thing or say, 70 AD pretty much encompassed all the predictions. And it's like, that sucks. If that's the climax of human history and the expected, glorious, coming of the Lord and the finality to death, but it's all spiritual, it doesn't really do anything for me. And the last thing I'll say, and then we'll have to wrap this up here because I want to really focus on the fulfillment stuff. Sorry to cut you short here, Byron, but we've got other callers.
Sure.
John Collins points out the language in Mark looks like an author later in the mouth of Jesus is getting Jesus off the hook. So when Jesus says, see the stones, not one stone will be left upon another, here are the signs, and he gives all the signs, which many scholars identify as 70 AD, which is, and I think that there's good reasons to suggest the Roman-Jewish war. There's also a scholar who's writing something right now about the Bar Kokhba revolt, that this might be reflecting that event instead of 70. Either way you slice it, there's a debate, and there's scholars who talk about it. The problem is Jesus is said in his own mouth, not even I know the day or the hour, and scholars think that a church, someone put that in Jesus' mouth to get him off the hook of saying, when you see these signs, know that the end is near. Not that those signs are the end, but the end is near. So when we say, oh, that's just apocalyptic language, it's symbolic. No, John Collins argues, no, that they're literal temple, literal wars, literal famines that are leading up to that war. All of it is signs that the end is about to happen. But just like Daniel, the predictions that lead up to the very end of Antiochus the Fourth Epiphanes, every prophecy after fails, and someone's getting Jesus off the hook, even in the earliest gospel of Mark. So I would just go and check out some of the critical scholarship and, make up your own mind. I'm not trying to tell you what you think, but.
I appreciate that. Can I leave you with just one joke?
Sure.
Where's your data points?
Where's your data points?
Sorry. Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
All right,
but,
Byron, thank you so much, man. Have a good one.
You too.
All right. Yeah, sorry to go on a rant there, but
all right.
Just trying to give an adequate response. So
it was a fine response. I mean, he was already here. He waited all that time. There's,
might
as well give him what he was looking for.
Yes. Your choice, man. You pick.
All right, next up we got Toronto Bible Study coming in here. Welcome in, Toronto.
Hi, how are you?
Very well, very well. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Awesome.
I've been listening. I've been listening intently. I do believe you guys are kind of mischaracterizing some scriptures there, like
Yeah, that's
the
what we
law
did. I'm
about the law about stoning children and stuff like that. They're not really children, are they? So I think a lot of the arguments are kind of taking things out of context, and
children are typically like minors. Like you can actually stone your adult children according to Deuteronomy 21. I don't believe that Exodus 21 is referring to adult children, although it could. I'm not sure it matters how old they are.
I mean, it does seem to be adult children. Like they're considered people with agency anyway. Like not like little kids. Obviously, the Bible's not going to tell people to stone little kids. You know.
Well, they're already told not to kill little kids in the Bible.
Sorry. So what's that?
It does tell you to kill little kids in the Bible. Numbers 31 does.
Yeah, but not their own children. Even the Numbers 31 kids that's another case. That's a different case. It's like you're mixing
you can kill somebody else's kids.
That's what I'm saying.
Your own.
That's what I'm saying. You're actually taking things out of context. You're mixing issues.
Actually,
you're not dealing with these issues carefully.
I'm not doing that. Because in Exodus 21, it just says anyone who curses their mother or father, which could be children.
Yeah, it's clearly not talking about little kids. Like it's cursing.
So
it's
not
also,
anyone then.
It's cursing and what was the other thing? I think striking them, right? So it's not talking about little kids. It's talking about people with agency, people that are able to.
Okay, so children can't curse their parents.
No, but they wouldn't be considered to be like liable for crimes like that. It's just ridiculous to even think that, you know.
Oh no, it's not ridiculous.
But what about the kids with the she-bear? What about the she-bears with Elisha or Elijah calling him bald? Are those all male adults? I mean, most academics.
I think they're youth. I think they're youths.
I mean, if they're youth, so if they're 13, let's say 14. What would you do with a 13 or 14-year-old today? I mean, come on, Toronto. Think about it.
No. I'm okay with that, but because it's like, I mean, first of all, we have to decide what does it mean by tear? They teared them, right? Like, how badly were they injured? What are we talking about here?
Dude,
were they like?
They called him bald. They called him bald. Who cares?
No. They didn't just call him bald. They said go up bald head, right? So this is right after Elijah.
How terrible. Oh no.
Allow me to explain.
Bald head.
Allow me to explain. So as I said, we have to carefully exegete text, right? So it's right after the story of Elijah being taken up. And so when these kids say go up now, bald head, what they're saying is go die, bald head.
So what?
You know, to this prophet, to God's prophet.
So what?
And so it's and also in that region, it was also like this region of
so
kind
what?
of like excuse me, I'm just trying to make my case here. Could you not interrupt me? So
right, but I'm asking you why I'm asking you why the thing you said is relevant.
Why it's relevant? Because they're doing something very serious. They're telling the prophet to die. And it's in a region where people are going against
I'm
God,
asking
going against God's rule. Well, within the biblical narrative, right? We're talking about a place, a people group that have been chosen by God, the God of the universe, right? He's blessing them, he's giving them protection. And these kids are basically flaunting their prophet, the prophet of God, right?
Yeah, they're kids.
Well,
right?
Are they kids? Are they little kids, or are they? I think they're youth.
It refers to them as little kids.
It doesn't refer to them as little kids.
It does. Na'arim little youth in Hebrew means little youth. It's a
little
in
youth.
The Bible and in other texts of Hebrew to refer to children.
Sometimes, other times it's used to refer to youth, right? So that's what I'm saying to you. It's hardly definitive that they're little kids. You know, they're not like 4-year-olds.
I didn't say
Na'ar is a youth.
Na'ar is a youth. So, for example, when Abraham took his child up to the mountain to sacrifice him, he was simply a Na'ar, not even and he was about 13 in that story. So a small youth, a young youth would be somebody who's maybe around 9 or 10. And I don't know if you know this. I don't know if you know this, but kids that are around the age range of 9 and 10, sometimes they make fun of people for being bald.
No. As I was saying, they're not just making fun of him for being bald. It's like the whole disrespect
It
to
doesn't
God.
matter what
and
it doesn't matter
innovation
if
as well.
what you think it is. They're children.
Also, yeah, I don't think they're children, as I was saying. That's
But it says
debatable. We
they're
can debate that.
children.
No, it says young youth, right?
That's
So,
children.
no, not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Yeah.
They're youth.
It's a
Youth-
young
youth
child.
could be
a small
consider
child.
youth in our society. We consider
a
youth.
small youth is like
a
a
small
13-year-old.
Not necessarily.
So,
Not necessarily.
In Hebrew culture, if you were under the age of 13, you were considered a minor. You could be considered a na'ar if you're slightly over that age, but typically you wouldn't.
No. Na'ar could be considered older than that. Na'ar could be easily.
I
like
said
16,
typically.
though.
I didn't say that na'ar doesn't
Okay,
have a
so
semantic
then-
range. I'm saying
okay,
the
so
most
then you
typical
don't-
usage of the word
so then-
na'ar is
Okay,
for
so it's
somebody
debatable,
who's
right?
age 16 and under, but more or
Right,
less
right.
than
So
that,
it's
typically
debatable.
around the
Okay.
age of
Yeah, okay,
13,
so it's
which is
debatable.
why a na'ar
Okay.
katan would
Yeah.
be a youth
Yeah,
under
it's
the
debatable,
age
right?
of 13.
And we also don't know how badly
It's
they were
actually
injured
not
or anything
debatable.
Like that. No, it's very debatable. And also
It's
we
not
also don't
debatable.
know. Yeah, sure,
If-
buddy. Yeah, it's
it-
debatable. And also we also don't know
what's
how
the
old they
the
how
lower
badly
limit
they were
of a
injured or
na'ar?
whatever.
What's the lower limit of a na'ar?
Lower limit probably 13. That is the lower limit.
Okay, and then what would be somebody just under that?
I don't know. 12?
It'd be
What
somebody
exactly?
under 13. Yes. Na'ar katan would be somebody just under the age of 13.
No, Na'ar Katan doesn't have to be under 13. It says little
is.
children. Na'ar Katan is little youth, right? Little youth. So
Or
again,
small
it
youth.
doesn't necessarily mean
a
that
small. If I talked
younger
about
than
a
that.
small youth in
No,
modern
listen,
language,
dude,
we would understand that this is a
like
very
that in
young
modern
child.
language. It's different.
And
This is not modern
to,
language.
and
This
to
is
Derek's
Hebrew.
point, even if
Ancient
they're
Hebrew.
16, I know I learned it.
Anyway.
So
Yeah,
again,
so did I. It doesn't. Look,
even
you
if they're
can't just
16, it doesn't
assert.
matter. They didn't pose a threat to this man.
No, that's not the point. It wasn't about opposing a threat. It was about punishing people who go against God's prophets.
Gotcha.
Publicly.
So it's okay
Publicly,
to have children, youth. It's okay to have youth killed with bears as long as they don't
weren't
follow your
killed.
God.
They were not killed. It doesn't say they were
It
killed.
says they're mauled.
Also,
it says they were torn
it says they're
open, by the
mauled.
way. It says
Doesn't
they
say
were torn open.
It doesn't say torn open. It says teared.
Yeah,
It's mauled. We don't know what it means exactly. We don't know exactly the
open.
level
What's it
of
mean?
injuries.
What's it mean to be
Doesn't say
torn open?
Doesn't say torn
What's
open.
it mean to be torn
Teared.
open?
I don't know,
by a
but it
bear.
doesn't-
What's
again,
it mean to be?
So
What's it mean to
maybe
be?
they had a little wound.
What's it mean to be torn?
What does it mean? What does it mean? Maybe it's a little.
I'm going to tell you. Would you like to hear?
No, you're going to assert something.
I'm going to tell you what the text says. So I'll help you out here. Okay. The text literally says "baka." This is a verb that means to tear, to rip apart. It shows up in the intensive verbal stem. It's in the PL verbal stem. I believe you mentioned at some point maybe you knew the original language, which means you should know that to tear something apart in the intensive verbal stem means that it's been torn apart intensively. It's been ripped open, torn apart, and all you have to do is look at the usage of that word. Every time that word shows up, it means to be divided. They were divided by bears. They were torn in two.
No, probably not. They probably just like,
they were split open. Numbers 1630. Number 1631 uses the same word to talk about the ground literally splitting open.
No. Again, you're just overconfidently asserting.
I'm overconfidently telling you what it literally says in the
you're
dictionary.
Asserting these interpretations of these
I could just tell you what it says in the dictionary. The BDB says to break open.
Look at the context, man.
What happens when a bear breaks open?
Does it say they died? You're acting like they died.
What happens when a bear breaks a human being open?
This is the opposite of careful exegesis. If you've been trained,
I'm asking you to engage with the dictionary definition of the word.
Yeah, I know.
So again, how many children survive a bear attack when they've been torn open?
Dictionary definitions are not careful exegesis. This is ridiculous.
I'm asking you a question that could analyze the situation a little bit better, which is what happens when a bear tears somebody open.
This is the opposite.
He'll never answer it because he knows he can't answer it. He can't address the substance, so he has to whine about exegesis.
Yeah, because exegesis is a method that you do properly. You don't just check.
I'm
in the
aware.
dictionary.
I
The
learned it, my
dictionary says-
friend.
Yeah, you learned it, and you're doing the
Hey,
opposite of how it's supposed to be
Brody,
done.
I learned
If
how
you
to do
learned
proper
it,
exegesis,
you
unlike
learned
you,
it
which is why
and
I'm
did the
asking you
opposite.
to
No,
exegete the
you
text
you
from
learned
the
it, and
Hebrew
you did
language.
the opposite of how it's
Tell
done.
me,
You
tell
did-
me how the
No,
Hebrew language works. Tell me what a PL is.
You check in. You
Tell
check.
me,
It's a
what's
verb
a
stem. Who
PL?
cares? You
What
check.
is
It's a
it?
verb.
You don't even
check.
fucking know what the verbal stem
You
is. This
check.
is crazy. I
What are you
love it
talking
when
about?
people
I just
that
told you
don't
what
know
it is.
what does it mean?
Listen,
What's a PL?
listen.
What's a PL?
You just hold
What's a
on, hold
PL?
on. Why are you doing this? Wait.
Because
I
you're
wanna-
the
I
one.
wanna
You're the
discuss.
one talking about exegesis.
wanna
I don't know if you
discuss.
know this.
Yes.
What's the first
Requires
step
you
of
to look
exegesis?
at the
Name it.
context.
What's the
The
first step?
context.
What? No,
Looking
wrong
at the
again.
context.
Nope.
Whatever, dude. There's different methods,
The
but
first-
one thing you
No, there's not. You learn steps of exegesis. The first step of exegesis is you begin translating the fucking text from the original language. Yes, you're going to know the context because you're translating it from the original language. You're going to go into that text.
Derek. You should.
You're going to
know
go
this.
into the text and you're going to translate it from the original language into your language. That's the context that you need. That's
This
how
is
you know what's
absurdly
happening,
childish
which
behavior.
means if you're not capable of translating the text from the original language into your language, you're doing a partial exegesis, which is why what I'm doing right now is demonstrating that the original language of the text is pointing towards little kids, young youths being torn apart by bears. And you're trying to say, well, it's okay because they didn't die. It's okay because they weren't little kids. Even if any of these claims were true, it still wouldn't be fucking okay, just as Derek already pointed out.
It's not okay in your moral world, but there's other ways of understanding this. And you're just, again, as I said, you're simplifying, you're oversimplifying things. You're not properly looking at the context. You're not dealing with these texts as they should be done. And it was a really bad case was the way you dealt with Exodus 21 and Deuteronomy.
Wait. I thought we were in 2 Kings chapter 2.
Yeah, because then you switched it. You changed topics.
Buddy,
That's
you
the other
get-
thing.
I
on your
brought
head
that
right
up.
now?
I did bring that up, but
No,
that's
but what I'm
because
saying,
we're talking about children.
but what I'm pointing out, Derek, is that what we have here is a series of texts that this person has taken out of context.
I did not.
And then mischaracterized them.
Is there
Really
ever a
carefully
time where stoning someone to death for not obeying their parents, stoning them to death for being disobedient? Does that, I mean, is there ever a right time for that? If they're 8, if they're 15, you think that stoning is still a good thing today?
Let me no, not today. Let me explain the situation.
So morals change over time?
No, morals don't change, but the law can change.
But
the law
so it used to be morally okay to stone people, but now it's not morally okay.
No, dude. We're talking about the situation, all right? So let's talk about.
I know. We're just waiting for an answer.
Laws
I think Derek is bringing up a very important point right
yes.
here. So
Morality.
what I'm asking you right now is, was it morally okay to stone your children, whether they're grown or not, back in the time that this text was written?
Yes, it was.
Okay, what is it? Is it morally okay now to do it?
It depends on the situation. Again, if God was down here, if God was living here,
holy shit!
If God was living here,
Derek, would you stone any of your children?
Never. I
wouldn't do that shit.
Never.
Somebody call CPS. Derek, you gotta check this guy's basement right now.
Once again, oversimplifying it, not dealing with the issue. Morality does not change. Hold on, Derek. Morality
you just said it did.
Change. I did not say it did.
You did.
Morality.
You said it was moral then, but not moral now, which means morality changed.
I did not say that. It's situational. Morality is objective.
We can do a logical syllogism if you want.
Hold on a second. Wait, stop with your pretending to put words in my mouth. And this is ridiculous. Look, Derek, morality is objective, okay? But laws change by situation, right?
No, they're not. Morals aren't objective. Morals come from God, which makes them subjective.
No, they're not. No, that doesn't make it subjective. Because
apparently this guy never read Plato. Listen, Plato answered this like 2,500 years ago. If morals come from God, that means you have divine command theory, not objective morals.
It's not. Because
what do you think objective means?
The Christian God is not.
What do you think objective means?
Hold on a sec. It
I'm
means
not.
mind independent. It means mind independent.
Because-
Stance independent.
Okay,
but
did
what we're
God's
saying is
mind
God-
decide what morals would be?
He doesn't decide morals. He doesn't decide them.
So
They're
God
part of
doesn't
his
make
nature.
decisions.
He doesn't. Listen, dude, stop putting words in my mouth. Why are you interrupting me?
Does
You
God
ask me
make
a question.
decisions?
You ask me a question, then when I try to answer, you interrupt me.
Does God make decisions?
God makes decisions. That's not about morality.
Okay,
We're
did
talking about-
God decide what would
wait,
be moral and what wouldn't be moral?
No, he did not. No.
Then who did?
Morality is part of. Excuse me. I'm trying to answer the question. You keep interrupting me. Are we trying to have a discussion here, or are you interrupting me? Okay.
What
allow me to
decided
answer
what
the
morals would be?
No one decided them. Morals come from God's nature. They're just something
from
that
the nature. So God has to follow his own nature. So God
Yes.
can't change his own morals then. So he's not all powerful?
he can't change his own nature. That doesn't mean he's not all powerful. All powerful is just referring to
No,
things that are.
That just means there's something he can't
Excuse me.
do.
Excuse me. Excuse
I
me.
love it when they think I'm part of
Wow.
his church and he's going to preach.
Interrupting. You can't allow me to
I'm
make a
trying
point.
to get
must
you
interrupt.
to follow
must
a
interrupt
point
me.
through without preaching.
I'm trying to make a point and you interrupt me every time
and I
do
asked
it.
you about your point.
Ridiculous. Yes.
All right, so
My point is
here's why I keep interrupting you, right? You're making points and I'm asking you clarification questions about your points, right? What I'm not going to let you do is preach. No one can hear you. You're muted, right? If you're going to say words out of your mouth, I'm going to ask you clarifying questions about those words. If I say something, you should ask me clarification questions about words leaving my mouth. That's how dialogue works. So when I ask you clarifying questions, what that means is you have to clarify before you move on and start preaching. Do you understand?
I'm not preaching.
Nobody can move forward until you clarify by answering my questions.
Before I can make a point, you're interrupting.
I'm gonna ask you the same question, whether you use 10 words or 100 words.
Hold on. My point now is that God's nature is morally good. He cannot violate his own nature. This is not about him being not all powerful, because to violate his
How do you
own
know
nature
God is good?
Wait, that's another question. Hold on a second.
I know. I'm challenging the thing you just said. You said God's nature is good. I said, how do you know that?
You're trying to make an internal critique of Christianity,
nope,
right?
I asked you a question. How do you know God is good?
That is a separate issue.
He can't answer it. You brought it up, not me.
Dude.
You said God is all good. That's part of his nature. I'm simply asking you, how do you know that?
Again, you're separating the issue.
I'm asking you to clarify your point.
I'm
asking you to clarify your point.
I know, because you're mixing the issues. We're trying to establish.
I asked you to clarify a point you made. You said, I'm interrupting you because I'm not going to let you finish. So again, here's what's going to happen. You don't get to preach here. This is not a preaching platform. You made a statement. I want you to clarify that statement before we move on. This is not a sermon. We're not in your church. We don't follow you on TikTok. We need you to clarify your own talking points so we can move forward in the conversation together. I would like to move forward in this conversation together with you, rather than you thinking you're going to preach at me. You'll never preach at me. I have a mute button. So we'll try this again. I'm asking you to clarify the last point that you made. You said God's nature is good. We're talking about morals. In this dialectic, you said God's nature is good. He can't go against his nature. So I asked you, how do you know God is good? Which means that's what we must solve before we can move forward with the assumption that God is good.
Okay, now the reason I was saying that is just because we're trying to establish this notion that God is objectively, that morals are objective, and that even though God is establishing morality, that we can still have objective morals despite this, because you're trying to say that it's mind dependent or stance dependent on God. I'm trying to suggest that it's not. So the notion that God is good is a separate issue. We can discuss that later.
I'm
really
we
can't establish
real quick. The notion that God is good is a separate issue from the gods that he the laws that he commands people to practice, which I would say aren't good. I think Justin would agree aren't good, whether it be slavery, whether it be stoning, children or young teenagers or whatnot. you're seemingly to kind of trying to defend that because I think you know that's a problem. Do you see what I'm saying? So you're trying to separate God from the laws he's commanding.
No. I'm trying to say that when you guys talk about these things, such as stoning children, when it's really not about children, it's really about adults who are. It's the children. Like, imagine how if you're an adult, you're still your parents' child, right?
He just ignores everything you say. Why do you ignore every time Derek talks?
I think they're adult children. They're adult children.
13 years old would be considered in the ancient world. They had puberty.
No, we're talking about those people that were stoned for striking or cursing their parents, right? Exodus 20.
I'd love to see how old they had, what the bare minimum age would count for them to be stoned. It'd be really interesting. I don't know any disobedience that would call for stoning someone to death.
Well, this is what I'm saying to you. Now we were discussing that why I think that's justifiable, right? And I think it's justifiable because for a number of reasons, but First of all, we never have any evidence of anyone ever actually undergoing this sentence. That's the first thing, okay? Secondly,
if it's not recorded, it didn't happen. What a crazy thing to say.
I'm gonna continue on here. Secondly, we're talking about them in the desert.
Well, hold on. What about the woman caught in adultery? According to the New Testament text, they picked up stones. So let's just take an adult woman who slept with another man when she shouldn't have. Do you think that would have been just to actually stone her?
Well,
I know that the scene says that Jesus says, "He who is without sin." I know what the episode says.
I know. Let's establish this. Let's establish this. That first, it would have been the adulterous woman and the man both would have.
Yes or no?
Why is she being stoned though? Like, why is she?
They're both being stoned for committing adultery.
Well, there's only one person in the scene, but go ahead, Justin.
In the story of the woman, the reason why Jesus,
but he's not asking you about the story and the woman. And what he's actually asking you is it just to stone two people that commit adultery?
Yes, I think it is. In that situation,
what? There we go.
Let me explain the situation.
We got it.
They're living with God.
On you, would it be just to stone her?
Excuse me. I'm talking about that situation.
Excuse me. Let me preach.
No, I'm not preaching. We're talking about that situation in the ancient deserts.
Okay, so it's morally okay to stone people then, but not now.
The reason is the situation.
Change again.
Again, not morals changing, but the situation changes. They're in a situation where, excuse me, can I finish my point? God is with them.
I asked you what changed.
God is with them. Yes, I'm telling you. God is with them in the desert. He's dwelling with them. So it's like a holy place. So in that environment, people who commit that kind of horrific sin are stoned. And also the other part of it is that they're in the desert. It's like a situation where everybody in the community depends on each other for survival. So a situation like that can lead to people killing each other, like a husband killing two people or something like that. So it leads to the situation where more and more of the community is at risk. And so you're putting more and more people at risk through those kind of practices.
Gotcha. So Joseph was wrong for not having Mary stoned then.
What?
Joseph should have. Yeah. Initially, before his vision, before he had a dream.
No.
Mary gets impregnated.
Okay, Derek, listen. As I was saying to you, we don't have evidence of these people. Hold on.
Joseph,
we don't have evidence of these people.
I love how he never pays attention to the actual topic. Did Joseph speak to have Mary stoned or not?
No, he didn't. We don't have people. We don't have evidence of people.
Why didn't he?
I'm answering the question, dude.
I'm asking why. I don't care about your people. I'm asking, just give me the reason why.
Because that wasn't their practice.
So they weren't following the Torah? They didn't care about the Torah?
We don't see people doing that. We don't see people being stoned for
I didn't ask you if we saw people doing it. I'm asking you, is the Torah still important to Joseph?
No, the Torah was thought of as partially as laws that we must be followed strictly, but partially as like this instruction. It's a heuristic.
I agree. Yes, there are instructions, and one of those instructions is to stone adulterers. And you just said that it's okay to stone the adulterers.
They never stoned people during the period after the desert. They never even stoned even in the desert.
we
don't
have
see anyone being
literally no idea what they didn't do. Right? All we
Yeah,
know
but
is
it
what was
doesn't
recorded for us.
For
We have
example,
no
yeah,
reason to
we do see
believe
people.
that they never
Hold
stoned
on.
people.
We do see people committing
In fact,
adultery who are
in
not
numbers,
stoned.
in numbers,
do
we
see
know
that.
in
We
chapter
do see that,
15 they
Derek.
specifically
He's
did stone people.
interrupting me again. We do see people who
The
did commit
crying is
adultery who were
outrageous
not
here.
stoned. David was not stoned. Hosea's wife was not stoned. People commit adultery in the Bible, and they are not stoned.
Should
But
they have
David's
been?
son was killed in his place.
No, I don't think they should have been. What I'm saying to you, Derek, is that the reason why these laws were set up is in the desert where they were, with God dwelling with them, literally dwelling with them, right? It's a holy place. It's like you need to take these things seriously. Also, as I was saying to you,
we don't.
In the desert,
Yeah,
no, I'm not saying you need to, but they needed to. And also,
okay, so the stoning of Zechariah, son of the priest, that was a good stoning in 2 Chronicles 24.
that wasn't even about adultery. That was
I
just,
didn't
that
say
was
it was about
actually
adultery.
they're oppressing
I'm
him.
asking you about stoning.
No, that wasn't good. That wasn't a good stoning.
When is stoning acceptable?
That's a stoning that was condemned by Jesus. That's
when is stoning acceptable?
Condemned. Stoning is acceptable when God commands it.
So
okay,
you're
God
back to command theory.
I
gotta pee. I'll be right back. I'll be right back.
No, I'm not going to command theory, Derek. I'm not going to command theory.
I'll be right back.
The circles over here are wild right now. Did God command the stoning in Deuteronomy 22?
I explained why the command
Did God?
is
Hey,
logical
this is going way
moral.
easier if you just fucking answer questions. Did God command Deuteronomy 22?
Yeah, it's a law, but that's
okay.
Also
So then,
stoning
if
also.
stoning, stop. Just say yes or no to my questions. If God,
no, because your yes or no questions are deceptive.
They're yes or no questions because you fucking ramble. This is not your church. This is not your platform to ramble. We're trying to get through a dialectic without you running off into preaching. We could have been done 15 minutes ago if you stopped preaching. So you just said that stoning is acceptable when God commands it, when God tells you can do it. You just said Deuteronomy 22 says God said you can do the stoning. So what that means is that you're allowed to stone people based on Deuteronomy 22. Do you follow?
Yeah, but this is the thing again. They didn't consider the law like that. They didn't treat the law like that, and I don't think we should treat it that way either. For example, that law was on the books in Deuteronomy 22, but they didn't follow it. We don't see anybody following it. We don't see anybody dealing with it. Because
God punished them for not following it.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
Yeah, he did.
He punished them for failing with other laws, such as
no, he didn't.
Child sacrifice.
He specifically says that he's going to punish them for not following this law.
This law, which law? Deuteronomy 22.
The law given to Moses.
Yeah, the law given to Moses. That's the thing. So there's some laws that were given. He speaks specifically about which laws are being.
Is Deuteronomy 22 given by God to Moses?
No, but he specifically talks about which ones, such as when they sacrifice the children. When they
God doesn't say to follow some of the laws. He said to follow all the laws.
No, but once again, as I was saying to you, some of the laws are considered to be like instruction. It's like a heuristic.
So God didn't want you to follow those.
Yes, it's a matter of like.
So in Deuteronomy 7, when God says, if you pay attention to these laws and are careful to follow them, then the Lord your God will keep his covenant of love with you. That what he meant to say is don't actually follow all of these laws, just kind of some of them.
No, what he meant is that it's like they're not supposed to follow every single law perfectly like that because.
Oh, fuck, don't tell Yahweh.
No, because he knows that they're going to break laws and stuff. He knows that because that's why they had the sin sacrifice. They had these.
Can you see the screen?
Yes.
What's it say?
Fulfilling to keep his commandments and his statutes and I'm commanding today. Yes.
I heard mumbling. Read the verse. Again.
Take care that you do not forget the Lord your God by failing to keep his commandments, his ordinances, and his statutes that I'm commanding you today.
Oh, gotcha. And how many commands did Moses give?
He also gave the commandment to love your neighbor.
I'm going to mute you. No one cares. I'm asking you a specific question about this text. I'm not going to let you preach. I made you read this text so that we can have a better understanding of the topic we're talking about. So God said through Moses, to not forget the commands and the ordinances and the statutes that I'm giving you today. So what that means is, at a minimum, the book of Deuteronomy should be followed, because all the laws in Deuteronomy were given in that day, weren't they?
No, what I'm saying to you is
They weren't?
that clearly they were not. They were not followed perfectly.
Holy
They were
shit.
not.
So according
And
to the
so-
Bible, Deuteronomy wasn't delivered in this day?
No, were they all delivered in that one day? No, obviously not. So
It is. It's
other
actually
laws-
one entire dialogue.
it's not given in one day. The whole
Have you not read
book.
Deuteronomy?
It's not given in one day, bro. It's not.
It is.
No, it is.
He gives according to Deuteronomy, he gives the entire law, and then he mentions it on multiple occasions. All that I'm commanding you this day. These commands
the
were given
speeches
on
the speeches
this
are given on different
day.
days. It
They're
takes
not.
place over a period of time. Yes, it does.
Find me one
also-
verse in Deuteronomy that says the next day or a different day. You won't find it.
Well, whatever. Anyway, either way,
I know.
Either way, the point is, these laws were not followed like that among the Hebrews, and it wasn't.
But God
considered
wanted
be
them
that way.
to.
No, they weren't. No, they weren't. Because the
No,
fact
they
is,
were. He
No, they
wanted them
weren't,
to.
because the
I
fact
just showed
is
you
he
the
had this
passage
law-
that said not to.
Hold on.
Deuteronomy 30,
Again.
Deuteronomy 29, Deuteronomy 6, Deuteronomy 8:28. All of
yeah,
them
but
say
you
the
have
same
laws.
thing.
You have laws like love your neighbor and all these things that they were.
So
They're
what?
they're
We're
considered
talking
to
about
be
Deuteronomy
priority.
right now. We're
So
talking about
you can't
Deuteronomy
have
right
no
now.
laws.
We're talking about
consider-
Deuteronomy right now. Try to pay
Who cares?
attention.
Yeah, I understand that, but the Levitical laws are also important. They're all.
But we're
they're
talking
all
about
very
Deuteronomy
important.
specifically right now.
Yeah, so we're talking about Deuteronomy. So that doesn't mean you
So
can
try
ignore
to stay on
Leviticus.
task. We're
doesn't
not
mean you
there
can
yet.
ignore
We're
Leviticus.
in Deuteronomy right now.
Yes.
So right now,
what?
I'm asking
can't
you:
ignore
should the laws in Deuteronomy be obeyed according to the text? Because
not
God
word
says
for word
even
like that.
in the Messianic kingdom, He never says not word for word. He says when He comes and circumcises the hearts of the people, says moreover, the Lord your God will circumcise the heart, your heart and the heart of your descendants, so that you will love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, in order that you may live. Now, the New Testament says that this is what Jesus did. Jesus circumcised the hearts of the believers. And then he says, the Lord your God will put all these curses on your enemies and on the adversaries who took advantage of you. Then you shall again obey the Lord, observing all of his commandments that I'm commanding you today. Again, this is the ending of the book almost. This is chapter 30, bro.
Yeah, what I'm saying to you is that we can see in the Hebrew history that they did not follow these laws in that
I'm
way.
not
They weren't
asking you about
considered
Hebrew
to be
history.
taught that way. Yeah, so again, the way they understood it.
I'm asking
way
you about
we-
what the Bible says.
Yeah, but we have to interpret it the way it was understood in their historical context.
No,
That's how
we
that's
actually
how
don't.
exegesis works. That's another
No,
rule of
the
exegesis
New
you're ignoring.
Testament, the New
Obviously.
Testament, the
Obviously.
New Testament treats this like it's literal history, and God tells you
Yeah.
on at least a dozen occasions that He wants you to follow this law forever. The fact that
Yeah,
they
yeah, I know.
didn't do it has nothing to do with the
no.
interpretation of the text.
Again, as I'm saying to you, clearly this is clearly a rule of exegesis that we look at how they interpreted it in their
It's-
historical context. Hold on.
That's
And
not
it's
the
clear,
case.
it's clear. It is absolutely the case. That is absolutely a rule of
That's
exegesis.
not the case
also-
if you're a
also-
Christian.
Yes, it is. What are you talking about?
No,
Christians
it's
do that.
not, because Christians take the entire Bible to be divinely inspired, which means if the entire
Yes.
Bible is divinely inspired, that when God says to follow all these laws, it just means to follow all the laws.
No, it doesn't. Because if we understand, we
Words
understand.
don't mean
excuse
words.
me,
We knew it would
excuse me,
happen.
Again, interrupting. We understand these things the way they're understood in their historical context. That's clearly a matter of exegesis. That's the way we understand exegesis. So, if the people in their historical context did not follow the law perfectly, word for word, as you're saying, and even Paul goes on to say we follow it through the Spirit, not by the letter, we can see that there's not this idea of word for word following every single law like that. What we're trying to do is follow the character of the law, the spirit of the law. And that was the exegesis they used, obviously, because again, as we see in the Bible, we see numerous people committing adultery who are not stoned, who are not executed. It's publicly known.
Nothing to do with the
That
intention
absolutely
of the
does.
law. God tells you the intention of the law. Again, You
Again,
keep saying
you're
that
ignoring
because people
exegesis.
ignored the law. I'm not ignoring exegesis. Just because
Yes, you
some
are.
people ignored the law doesn't mean that God didn't want you to follow the law. And the other part that
They
you're
didn't
actually
ignore it.
missing, if you actually knew true exegesis, was that Deuteronomy was given after these mofos were dead. Deuteronomy theoretically was actually penned during the reign of Josiah. It's pretending to
I
come
don't
from the
believe
mouth
that.
of Moses.
That's
Well,
that's myth.
all the
That's you're
scholars
just
all the scholars
you're just
disagree with
imposing
you.
your yeah. Not all the scholars disagree.
So if you want to do real exegesis, you have to actually agree with the scholars on some of this stuff. We have no evidence whatsoever that any of this goes back to Moses. In fact, there's so many anachronisms in here that would preclude Moses. It's preposterous to think that Moses even wrote this. But my point
This
is actually quite simple, which is that according to the text, God wants you to follow the laws. The question isn't what did the Hebrews do? The question is what does the text say? And God said in the text that this is the commandment, the statutes, and the ordinances that the Lord your God charged me to teach you to observe in the land that you're about to cross into and occupy, so that you and your children and your children's children may fear the Lord your God all the days of your life and keep all of his decrees and his commandments that I'm commanding you, so that your days may be long. The text itself says to follow all of these commands. And when they don't, God punishes them for not doing it.
No, he punishes them for specific laws breaking. He actually informs us of which laws there was that they broke that he punishes them for.
Okay, so which
false
laws?
gods,
Justin,
committing child sacrifice.
I just figured I'd jump in here. I was just doing a little briefs, like looking into Hammurabi's code, and I thought to myself, suppose you are a believer in ancient Babylon, or something. Somehow you're a modern day follower of Marduk or something. Okay, and I'm reading these codes that are describing punishment, execution by drowning, burning, impalement, various other forms, and someone went, for that act, actually, they should be impaled for that. I have to defend it because it's in my sacred text. It's the law codes given by Shamash. I have to make excuses to make it justified. And I just think that might be what's happening here today, Toronto. In my opinion, I don't think you really believe
Derek,
that stoning anyone in any context today is a good thing. I cannot believe in my heart of hearts that you, Toronto, would ever find a reason to think that's okay. Now, here's the deal. You could convince me. You could really show me the ugly side and say, no, I'll make a really good case for stoning. But I just don't think that you really believe that what you're saying. I think you're just doing apologetics. I think you're just trying to defend.
Derek, come on, man. I've
not
been trying to
be.
make the case.
I'm not trying to be rude. I'm being honest. I honestly don't believe you think that.
I don't. This is the thing, Derek. I'm trying to make the case that, first of all, that that those laws were not to be followed in that word for word way that is.
But the Dead Sea Scroll community did follow them jot and tittle. They were literal. Yes.
Who did they stone? Did they stone people? The Dead Sea Scroll community stone people?
They had punishments for people who didn't follow the laws.
Dude, they didn't stone people, did they? So much more. How do you know they didn't stone people?
They absolutely listen. We don't have any evidence of that.
Dude, hold on. You're a Christian, right? Yeah. I just brought up the adulterous woman. Now, maybe you want to go along with the critical scholars and say that was interpolated. And maybe you do. Hold on, let me finish, because you don't like people interrupting you. So, okay, you're willing to go John 8, maybe an interpolation. If you're along with us, sing Kumbaya with us, brother. Welcome to Critical Scholarship. Let's pick this book apart together. Let's not be enemies. But if you're willing to say that that's historical and that a woman was actually about to be stoned, do you not think that's historical, that Jews were attempting to stone a woman for committing adultery? If so, you're denying the historicity behind John 8. And you're just now telling me the Qumran community didn't practice stoning. How do you know that? They took the law so seriously and literally, and many Jews did. Not all Jews. I don't have to act like the Sanhedrin did this. The Pharisees believed differently from the Sadducees, and the Sadducees different from this. But the Qumran community did, and there are academics who highlight the seriousness of their wanting to be pure, wanting to stay, clean, the purity laws that they would follow, all of those practices, including execution. And I can't imagine they didn't do such things.
Okay.
So let me ask you very pointedly, because I did a lot there, and I'm sorry that I did a bunch. The woman who was caught in adultery, do you think that's historical that they picked up stones to throw them at her?
Yes, I do, but let me explain.
Hold on. I'm not trying to be like Justin here where he cut you off and you think he's doing it because he's just a mean guy. You're trying to explain something. I need to get this out, though. You got to understand the logic of why I'm saying this. You just said that Jews were trying to stone a woman, but then you're telling me Jews weren't following the law and actually doing those things. You just explained why historically Jews did do these things because you think that's historical.
No, because what I think happened there is that they were trying to catch Jesus. So what they're doing is they're saying, okay, if we're supposed to stone this woman according to Moses. So if Jesus says don't stone her, it's like he's going against Moses. It looks bad in front of the people.
But wouldn't it work perfectly fine if they did stone people?
If they did
that would fit?
No, here's the thing. If they did stone him, if they did stone her, or if he said to stone her, I don't know if they would have actually done it, but if he said to, that would mean he's going against the Roman law.
Wait, didn't they stone Stephen?
It would be illegal for that.
I don't think it would be. Not in the region of like literally in the region where Jerusalem was. They did have local laws and jurisdiction. It wasn't like they had to go ask Caesar.
Not to commit execution.
Not a crucifixion was something Romans did, but stoning was a common thing.
No, it wasn't common. It wasn't common.
Stephen was stoned.
Yeah,
he was stoned because it was illegal though.
They dragged him out of the city and began to stone him.
Yeah, that was illegal.
So Stephen got stoned.
When they would do things like that, right? That was something that they would do.
Didn't
as a
Paul
practice.
get partially stoned?
Not illegal. Yeah, but that was also illegal. Not according to the
Based
law.
On what law?
It wasn't according
blasphemy.
To the
It was blasphemy, which is in the code of Moses.
But they had to. No, they're supposed to go to the court. They're supposed to go to the council and actually decide it. They didn't do that. No, they didn't.
Yeah, they did.
The Stephen stoning.
There was a council.
The Stephen stoning was illegal because they didn't actually have a trial for it. They just decided to do it. They just went out and did it.
Stephen gives a speech to the council.
Yeah, and they just immediately stoned him. They didn't have a trial for it. They're supposed to have a trial, supposed to have like witnesses, supposed to have the whole, what do you call it? Like eyewitness testimony given and a decision made. That's how they're supposed to do it. They didn't do it like that. That's illegal. When Paul was stoned, that was illegal as well. When the woman was going to be stoned, I don't even know if they would have done it, but honestly, I do think that they did it to catch Jesus. If Jesus said stone her, then it's like he's going against Rome, and he would have been illegal.
There are witnesses in verse 58, by the way.
Witnesses to Stephen's stoning. They're witnesses to the stoning of Stephen.
I know there were, and there were witnesses that accused him.
Witnesses that accused him.
Yeah, the witnesses.
Oh yeah, at the beginning.
You have to bring an accusation.
Yeah, they bring an accusation
are brought by witnesses.
You bring an accusation of what? What was the accusation against Stephen?
So to be clear, there are witnesses, there are accusations, and there are speeches to the council. It sounds like what's the trial, bro.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't a trial. It was just like a bunch of people. He was arrested. Yes.
But who arrested him?
Yeah, they're like the Jewish council, but it was
the high priest. The high priest asked him, "Are these things so?" So he's talking to the high priest because they're having the trial.
Yes, but they're still supposed to actually have a proper trial for. No,
what's the proper trial?
It's not the proper trial for
what
he's being charged with. What is he being charged with?
What's a proper trial?
A proper trial is like, okay, the crime is brought to their attention. Then they're given some time to have the trial.
Where's that in the Bible?
And then
how much time do they need?
Look at what the proper trial looks like. I'm going to show you what the proper trial looks like. We're just going to go back to the text because this is what we need to be looking at, right? The proper trial is this. Leviticus 24:13. The Lord spoke to Moses saying, take the blasphemer out of the camp and let all who are within hearing lay their hands on his head and let the whole congregation stone him. I don't see like, make sure you go down the street, go to the local judge office.
God spoke to them.
No, hear me out. I can agree with you that there is tension with how laws were enacted under Roman jurisdiction or under Roman period, but the laws of Moses permit these ideas if they are blaspheming in the name of the Lord, according to the interpretation of the Jews who are there in the presence of the situation. Now, All I'm saying is you're disagreeing with the behavior of what the Jews did at that time. They might have read this text and had a different interpretation and said, hey, which I don't even think this is historical in Acts anyway, but I'm reading it and going, okay, if I read this text and I was part of an assembly who thought that someone blasphemed, Moses says we can do this. Now you might go, well, Rome disagrees. Okay, well then Rome, in my opinion, is at least trying to stop them from stoning people. Back to the same moral issue to begin with.
Well, no, here's the thing. When they did a stoning, there's supposed to be a trial. There's supposed to be witnesses brought. In Stephen's case, they're literally like a mob. You know,
They could be.
It talks about how they're gnashing on him with.
There's always a mob. It's public.
They're like
Think they're going to be behind closed doors?
Him. No, a mob. I'm talking about mob justice as opposed to actual.
Was there a council there? Yes or no?
Yes, that doesn't mean it wasn't a mob.
Did Stephen talk to the high priest?
That doesn't mean it wasn't a mob. As I said, they're
Stephen
literally
talk
biting
to the
on
high priest?
What is that? Again, I just answered that question.
Stephen talk to the high priest?
Yes, that doesn't mean it wasn't a mob.
Okay. What is
doesn't
it?
mean it wasn't a mob.
What are
They're
the
literally
essential
biting
components?
on him. They're literally mashing on him with their teeth.
What are the essential components of a trial?
A trial, I don't know, but it doesn't mean
I
that
know
this
you.
was
Okay,
a
so
trial.
if you don't know the essential
I
components
know.
what
Basically,
you can't say is that there was no trial. That's preposterous. So what happened was he was brought before the high priest and the council. He gave a speech to the high priest and the council. There were witnesses who accused him. There were witnesses who watched the trial, and then there were witnesses who watched him getting killed. So what happened was he got the typical form of justice that would be prescribed in the Bible. They went to the elders, they went to the council, he made a case, and then after he made his case, the elders allowed him to be stoned. That's how trials worked.
No, because trials don't work where people get bit on with their teeth, where people are mobbing him. Clearly, they're mobbing him.
That's not true.
Clearly. Yeah, that is absolutely true. That's not
who do you think does
justice.
Stonings? Have you never seen a stoning? Do you not know how stonings work? What do you think? Do you think the council is stoning? Do you think the council stoning them?
Yeah, they are. They're literally
they're not. No, the people stone him. So again, in the Bible, when you stone somebody, it's not the high priest that's actually engaging in stoning. It's crazy that he won't let me actually respond to his nonsense. This is why I have to talk over you and mute you. In the Bible, it doesn't say ever that the high priest is going to stone you. It's always the people who do the stoning. Like we even see that in Numbers chapter 15 in the passage that Derek brought up. It's the people that are involved that do the stoning, not the council. This is not like line up against the wall and take aim.
Okay, so who is there? There is there with the council, right? And who what it says is when they heard these things, the council that was hearing these things, they were cut to the heart. They gnashed on him with their teeth. And being full of the Holy Ghost, he looked up steadfastly toward heaven. So they're just like mobbing him, clearly gnashing on him with their teeth.
That's what happens when you get stoned.
No, it doesn't. What does that have to do with stoning?
When you get stoned, you're attacked by a mob of people, and they stone
it isn't.
You.
No, that's not true.
Yes, you are.
Stoning is a
no, I watched The Life of Brian. It's true. I'm teasing you.
Come on, man.
No, but I'm teasing you. Don't take offense. I'm joking. Look. No, I love that movie, by the way. I'm reading Stephen here, right? Full of grace and power did wonders and signs. Now, mind you, listen, Toronto, I know you believe this, right? We see this as propaganda. This literature is for Christians, and this literature is to give you a perception from one side, the Christian side. If you just read the book of, Gospel of Luke and Acts, every time the Jews are involved, they're guilty. Christians are innocent. This is all critical scholarship that I like to talk about, right?
Well, I don't know about that, but
I'm just telling you what the critical scholars I've been reading.
It's a bit of an oversimplification, you know.
Well, it's much more than that, but that's enough.
You see Jews that are presented in a good light, like Nicodemus. Joseph
that's in the Gospel of John. We're talking about the Luke and Acts, and every time we turn around, Jews are instigating, just like this passage, right? So here he is standing up, Stephen, full of wisdom, but they could not withstand the wisdom and the spirit with which he spoke. Then they secretly noticed they're conspiring, those devilish Jewish people, which is what's caused a lot of anti-Semitism in the
man.
world. I'm not making this up. There's historical precedents for how this has been interpreted by Jews throughout history. Not Jews, Christians. By Christians.
Okay.
By Christians.
That's unfortunate.
I just want to make the point. This is important so you could see what the other side would say about this. Then they secretly instigated some men to say, we have heard him speak blasphemous words against Moses. Now, notice something. The author wants you to believe that they're making this up. But what if they actually did hear him say things they understood as blasphemous, according to the law of Moses? They understand. Notice Jews today would say some of the things Christians teach are blasphemous. Okay? So they stirred up the people as well as the elders and the scribes. Then they suddenly confronted him, seized him, and brought him before the council. That sounds like a court. Like, that sounds like a potential court proceeding here. They've arrested him. He's under law of blasphemy breaking, whatever the Jewish people at the time would have thought of as blasphemy. They set up false witnesses, just like Jesus. So this is just an imitation of the same thing they're saying happened to Jesus, which an outsider might question and go, you know, Jesus might have actually said some shit. But Christians portray it in a way that, like, no, he's innocent all the way to the death, et cetera, et cetera. So who said this man never stopped saying things against this holy place and the law? For we have heard him say that this Jesus of Nazareth will destroy this place and will change the customs that Moses handed on to us. And all who sat in the council looked intently at him, and they saw his face and was like the face of an angel. Well, damn, that sounds like reality. Like, everyone saw the face of an angel, including the court that is ready to stone him to death. Unlikely. But either way, you keep going, of course, that he starts preaching, right? And then eventually they had enough. Whatever he said, they understood as blasphemy. Now, I'm not trying to defend the act. This whole point is to simply show you that the law of stoning someone to death is not good to begin with. Period. It's just not the way to go.
Well, whatever. It is what it is, man. I mean, I think in those times there were ways of executing people that were worse than stoning. And stoning.
But do you think what happened to Stephen was good? Do you think what happened to Stephen? Okay. That we would apply that universally with stoning anyone. We would not say throwing stones at someone for words they said or not keeping a Sabbath or disobeying their parents is morally good, period, under any circumstance at any time. Now, if you believe that a God actually is dwelling in their presence and then he's telling you laws like, hey, you should stone people, or he's telling a man to kill his own only begotten son, his beloved son on a mountain. These kinds of things the atheists bring up, and you know this, Toronto, you've engaged. I don't want to shift topics to everything under the sun. There's a book on this. I mean, like, there's we could never touch on all these things.
This is the thing. It's about, like, the way you're reading it, the way you're presenting it. You're presenting it in a way it's
too scholarly. You're too accurate.
No, it's not accurate. As I was just saying to you, the idea, like, you're trying to suggest
what's not accurate about a God commanding a man to kill his son to last minute have an angel come in and replace it with an animal? What is not accurate about that?
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that?
If I told you God told me to kill my son, and I actually went to go do it, and I fulfilled that, let's say, and God told me to do that, just like he did with Jephthah's daughter, with his father.
Oh, Jephthah's daughter's different. He never commanded Jephthah to do that.
He didn't command it. No, he accepted it, though. There's no rejection.
How did he accept it? He never.
What do you mean? He made a vow to God that the first thing that entered his door, wouldn't you think God would have stepped in and saved the day last minute like he did Abraham? And go, no.
Yeah.
Wrong.
Why?
He doesn't.
To the point. Hold on. To the point, because you interrupted Derek, which now you've distracted Derek's point on Jephthah. So I'm going to distract you before you say some other nonsense and lose the plot. Derek's point is perfectly valid because God intervened in the situation with Jephthah to make him win the war. The pledge under the Spirit of God, when the Spirit came on him, was, if you let me win this war, I will do X, Y, and Z's. And God says, fucking do it. Win that war. But when the child gets sacrificed, God doesn't step in, which can only mean that God was like, okay, well, this is what's happening now.
That's why many apologists try to pretend that Jephthah wasn't, according to that text, sacrificed, that she became a Vestal Virgin of the temple or something else to completely dodge the reality of what is being said in that text. So look, Toronto, I'm only bringing this up to say, and I think we should have gotten to our next caller, but I think it was just too long, is there are many places that if I applied it to me, you would feel forced to have to try and justify. If the God of the Old Testament, which is you might claim equal to Jesus, I don't know your Christology, but if that God is the same God, and that God actually told me, I understand you'll say, but Jesus was the final sacrifice. That God spoke to me and told me to do this. What would you think of me if I did that to my child? Honestly.
This is the thing, Derek. He's not approving of the Jephthah
And
sacrifice.
dude, just answer the fucking question.
What I think of you?
Yeah,
if
what
you
would
did
you
that?
think?
Of course. If you killed your child at the command of God, is that what you're saying?
If I went and committed, yes, doing that, would
but
you?
the thing is, what is? Did God stop you from doing it?
No. In this case, it's like Jephthah. Let's just say I fulfilled it. We'll play that.
Jephthah, he didn't command it. He didn't.
Okay. So he doesn't stop it. He commands it, like Abraham. Except in this case, God doesn't stop it. What would you say was happening in my brain? What would you say?
Well,
do you think I committed something wrong? If the God that you believe existed told me that.
Here's the thing. In Hebrews, it talks about how
Abraham, answer the question.
I'm answering the question.
No, we don't care about Hebrews.
Dude.
This is why
I'm not asking for like a scriptural. You notice how you have to be stuck in the Bible to explain this? I'm asking you as a human being. I don't need a scripture verse from Hebrews or some other. I'm looking at you and I'm saying that if I said that the God of the Bible told me to do it and I did it, you probably, I imagine, wouldn't accept that. Or would you? Would you say, look, dude, God told you to do it. Don't disobey God. What would you say?
I wouldn't accept it. But as I was saying, in Hebrews, it talks about how Abraham
God
knew
told
that
me
God
to do it.
Hold on. Abraham knew that God. No, well, God wouldn't do that. God wouldn't tell you to do that.
But he told Abraham. He told Abraham,
and he stopped it.
Yeah. Can you imagine the trauma that the young man would have had to experience? I mean,
they all had to learn a lesson there.
Why wouldn't God command it?
Because that was the one-time thing. Clearly, it's obvious.
No, it wasn't. He commanded the killing of children on other occasions.
That's not sacrifice. It's different things, man.
We're not asking about sacrifice. We're asking
again
about
ignoring
killing
context.
children.
Ignoring context.
We're asking about killing children.
He's asking about sacrifice.
Would God command people to kill children? Yes or no?
The children in those situations.
Yes or no? Would God command the killing of children? Yes or no?
Sometimes, but that's again.
Okay.
It's different.
If God commanded me to kill a child, would I be wrong for following him?
Yes, that's all I'm asking.
Because at this point,
you'd be wrong to follow God. If God told
you, wouldn't know. You wouldn't know.
That's crazy.
You wouldn't know.
This guy's moral framework is wild.
No, you wouldn't know the way Abraham knew. You wouldn't know. Nowadays, we know that it's not on the board anymore.
No, you're changing my question. If you knew that God, if God came down, in my analogy, this is true, by the way. In my analogy, if God told me and I knew it was God that I needed to kill this pagan heathen child over here because he's going to grow up and do something horrible, would I be wrong for doing that?
If God came down and did, I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. It's like a weird.
It's weird when you ask me a good question, how I can't answer it.
No, it's not. It's not because in that situation it was different. You know, in this situation,
would I be wrong for following God's command?
Following God's command, you can't be wrong for following God's command. That's true.
There you go. So the answer is no. Remember, I wouldn't be wrong for following God's command.
The reason why is we know God decides who goes to heaven, who goes to hell. God decides everyone's death. God decides everyone's death, right? Hold on.
Okay,
God decides everyone's death. So therefore, every child that ever died, God decided it. Every child that died of cancer, every child that died in the womb, because
the babies that were the Amalekite babies that were murdered went to heaven.
Yeah, of course.
Holy fuck, that's a crazy apologetic. Where's that in the Bible?
Lots of people agree that children go to heaven.
Lots of people agree. There you go. Where's that in the Bible?
Lots of Christians.
Many people are saying.
Jesus said, that the children let the little children come unto me because of such are the children of heaven. Such is the kingdom of God.
So it's okay to kill babies if they go to heaven then.
I didn't say that.
Oh, well, when is it okay to kill babies? I'm confused.
If God commands it, it's different.
That's why I literally asked you that earlier, and you couldn't just say, hey.
No, I wasn't saying it's not just God commanded.
If God commanded me to do something, what would you think about it? Is what I'm asking you. And you kind of went off into Hebrews.
Yeah.
I'm
but the
I'm
reason
trying
why-
to show you the logical kind of
No.
process here
Here's the thing. In Hebrews, it talks about how Abraham knew that God could raise him from the dead, right? It talks about that. So that's why he had this logic in his mind. He knew that ability of God to resurrect the dead.
But
That's
he is
why
not going to
felt
answer
like
any of
it
your
was-
questions. He's not even listening to
No,
him.
that's
What was Derek's question?
Derek. Do you not understand how I'm trying to respond to your
Do you know what
question?
Derek's
Can you-
question
can you
was?
do that?
I really
see
don't
that
think
or
you're
not?
seeing what connection I'm making that you just answered
you're
that you
saying-
agreed with. You just said it. You're like, well, the God commanded it. And I literally just used the analogy that if God commanded me to do it, would you think it's okay? And you hesitate and don't want to just say, yes, God commanded you to do it, then you got to do it.
Weird. Yeah, it's weird.
That's
It's
you know
weird. It's
why
weird to
though,
say that, but
Toronto.
yeah.
I know why you're doing it, and this is the point. This is the
No,
part of
because-
this. It's because what I'm saying sounds horrific, and it doesn't make God look pretty. And I understand that, and it's a defense mechanism.
No, it's not just that. It's the way everything is being kind of framed here. You know,
That's
the framing
because
of it,
I
you
would
know?
look if the Baal worshippers, or how it's set up, they're killing their children, they're sacrificing their children, and let their sin build up in Canaan, right? But God ends up sending his own people for 400 years into slavery in Egypt intentionally. He wants them to be in trouble. He wants them to go through the crap. We know that because God says, tell them to let my people go as well. But then he hardens their heart. Like all of these little things that God's doing. Then finally he goes to have them annihilate these people in Canaan.
This is the thing.
And they sacrifice their children. Like we see fossils of sacrifice in Israelite religion. That's what I'm saying. We see
No. That's illegal.
Oh no,
though.
we
That's
do.
Like, that's
No, it's
illegal.
not.
Yeah. That's like
No, it's
against
not.
the religion, though. It's against
No, it's
the
not.
law of God. Of
Not
course
according
it
to
is.
Ezekiel.
Yeah, right, dude. It says he literally says that he did not put it in their hearts in Ezekiel.
No, he
Ezekiel
says-
20:25. You want to read
Share
it?
your screen, dude. Share your screen.
Dude,
Yeah, well,
don't. You
well,
guys are just gonna rip this out of
we'll let him
context
re-
again.
No,
We'll let
no.
him read the
Ridiculous.
Let's
Bible
read
for
what
the
he
first
says.
time.
Yeah, okay.
Moreover, I gave them statutes that were not good and ordinances by which they could not live. I defiled them through their very gifts in their offering up of their firstborn, in order that I might horrify them, so that they might know that I am the Lord, which comes from Exodus 22:29, if I remember correctly, where it says to offer up the firstborn. So
Offer up the firstborn.
who-
Offer up the firstborn was never literally offering up their children.
but not according
would
to
just take them-
Ezekiel.
No, of course, no. This is not that. This is not referring to that. This is
Then
talking
what's it
about
referring
how.
to? When did
This is
God
talking about
command
how-
them to,
No, he
to
did not
offer up
command them.
their children?
It
He
literally
did.
says. It literally says.
I
he
gave
did,
them
he never,
statutes
he never
that
put-
were not good.
No, it's not that he literally gave them that law. It's like
It
he's
says,
talking about
I
how.
gave them statutes that
Dude.
were not good.
Listen, you're taking it out of context again. In this
What's the
same,
con-
in this
what
same
does
book
this
of
What's the
mean?
context in Ezekiel? What's it
Dude.
mean?
He's talking about how he let them follow these other false
No,
gods.
he didn't.
allowed
He
them.
didn't say let them. He
It
said
is,
I
it
gave
is.
them statutes.
No, because you're not. Wait.
What's
No,
the
no,
word
no,
give
text is this?
mean?
What
This
text
is
is this? What
basic
text is this?
English.
What text is this?
This is Ezekiel
what?
20:25.
Yeah, in the earlier in that same chapter, he talks about how it was never entered into his mind.
That's Jeremiah.
No, it's in this one too.
It's in
Ezekiel,
Jeremiah,
Um,
where God says it never even child sacrifice, according to what the Canaanites were doing, never even entered my mind.
So the question, Toronto, here is, did God give them statutes that were not good and ordinances by which they could not live?
no, he didn't literally give it to them. It's a figure of speech. man.
Gotcha.
It's a figure of speech.
There you go. So
No, obviously.
the Hebrew word natan doesn't mean give anymore. That's wild.
No, again, figures of speech occur in the Bible. He's
Find
not
me
literally
one
saying
instance where the Hebrew word natan doesn't mean give.
it means give, yes, but I'm not saying what people
Then
can
why
use
would we?
words.
Why would we translate this as anything else?
I'm not translating it as anything else. I'm saying he uses the word give, yes, but what he's
The
saying
amount
is
of
that
gymnastics
he
you have
allowed
to
them.
use is
No,
crazy.
it isn't. It's not gymnastics.
He
dude.
could have say
It's
allow.
obvious.
He didn't say allow. He said
Dude,
give. I gave
Derek,
them statutes in basic sentence structure. What
Derek.
that means is that the object, the
No,
definite
it's
direct
clearly not.
object,
It's
would
clearly
be
not.
the object is statutes. I
No, it
gave
is not.
them statutes. That's basic
Derek,
sentence
if
structure.
you believe this
in-
kind of false,
In every single language, this is basic verb subject agreement. I gave them statutes. It's not difficult.
You want me to comment?
Derek, listen, dude. Listen to me. These texts, right? It's almost like poetry, okay? It's a prophecy.
Now
right?
it's poetic, okay.
No, wait.
What are they doing?
Hold on, Derek.
But
Derek,
what are they doing in this text? What are they doing?
They are committing child sacrifice, okay?
Okay.
Hebrews,
So
right?
the real
He's
dispute,
going to punish them.
Right.
Punish them for it.
Let me lay out, I think, your position and ours. So side by side, let the viewers decide, okay? I think it's important we leave them to be judges, all right? We're saying, and I believe I'm on the right page here with you, Justin, agree with me or disagree. I'm willing to take whatever criticism, all right? We're saying that the behaviors of Israel, whoever these people group are specifically that he's addressing in this context, were acting in such a way that he ends up increasing their sin. He gives them laws. He helps them to behave in I say accordance with what their actions are already doing. So, obey my law, you'll get blessings. You don't, you'll get cursings, kind of that kind of idea. So what we're saying is God actually enhances those evil statutes, giving them their ways by making them behave these ways, filling up their sin, continuing down that path. You're saying he allowed them to just behave however they want and getting God off the hook in this passage, and they end up doing bad things. We're saying, no, God is giving them human sacrifice ordinances and statutes to do these things because that's his punishment for them being wicked. Am I on the same track as you, Justin, at least in some way on this?
Yeah. You guys, I understand what you guys are saying, but what I'm saying,
because the text seems to clearly, like, face value seems to say that.
No, because you're not looking at the genre, at the actual reading of what is going on.
We are looking at the genre. The genre is prophecy.
The genre is prophecy.
Prophecy that is repeating past events, and the past events is that God gave them something. The Tanti just means I gave. Lechem means to them.
It's just like Romans 1. You know when Romans 1 where he says he gave them over?
Them.
Yeah, okay.
This isn't Romans 1.
It's the same thing. It's the same
this is
element.
Not Romans 1.
It's obviously it's obviously the same idea.
Necessary to interpret this text. It's obviously not the same idea. You're obviously coping. Romans 1 is unrelated to Ezekiel. Romans 1 says that they were given over to their desires and passions. That's not what this text says. This text literally says, I gave to them commands. Commands here in the plural is the object of the verb. That's just basic Hebrew sentence structure. Not hard.
Because you're reducing it down to one scripture out of context instead of looking at the bigger picture.
It's not out of context.
You absolutely
Derek just gave you the context. You don't need
the
book of Romans to supply context.
Let me explain the context.
What's the context? Give me the context of the chapter.
Yes, I'm going to do it. These people are sinning against God. Mm-hmm. He gives them over. That's
what Derek said.
The sins that they're doing.
Doesn't say that.
Yes, it is. That's what it is. That's
show
what
me
he talks
about. Show me in the verse where it says it.
Because it's using that as a figure of speech.
Show me in the chapter where it says that.
What? No, it doesn't say that word for word. It's talking.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it doesn't actually say the thing I needed to say. I have to change the meaning of words.
This is ridiculous.
I have to lie about what the text actually says.
This is not how you exegete the Bible.
No, but
the Bible.
Toronto,
you should know this.
No, I do know this, and that's why I don't agree with you. That's why I'm saying, but you've got it pulled up right here, right, Justin?
This is chapter 20. We can go all the way down to 25 and 26 right here.
My point is,
the whole chapter's about their rebellion, their idolatry, their wickedness. They're following.
Right. We agree that they were doing it.
Okay.
The point is, you're trying to say God just allowed them. He gave them laws and ordinances.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying to you, Derek.
So then where did those laws and ordinances come from? That it literally says in the text.
When he says he gave them, it's like he's saying he let them go with those false laws that they followed.
It didn't say that.
That's what the metaphor is. That's what the metaphor is.
It's not a metaphor.
Like a figure of speech.
It
is a figure of speech.
No, it's
absolutely is. Of course it is.
The Hebrew lexicon disagrees with you, liar.
No, Hebrew doesn't disagree with me. It's not in the Hebrew
show
grammar.
me one spot where this natan is used in that way in the Bible. Show me one spot.
The word gave
means to allow.
Look, words. Listen, dude. Obviously, words, individual
have no
words,
meaning to you.
No, I'm not talking about that. There's ways that words can be used in figures of speech in different genres.
That's why I'm asking you. Demonstrate that this is a figure of speech and stop saying it.
That's what I'm saying to you. I was just trying to explain to you the whole chapter is about their idolatry.
I said
their worshiping of false
demonstrate
gods.
that this phrase is a figure of speech. We agree on the context. The context is that they're not obeying God and God is reacting to their disobedience. The reaction that it says happens is that he gives them bad laws because of it that they cannot follow. So again, I'm asking you, demonstrate from the Hebrew Bible where the word natan means something other than give in the idiomatic expression.
Looking at it right here. The idiomatic expression is that he gave them statues that are not good. God cannot give statues that are not good. Hold on. God
you
cannot
don't know
give
what an
statues
idiom is, do you?
Dude. Wow, refusing to let me make a point. Refusing to let me talk.
Go ahead, hurry up. We got to get off here shortly.
I know. Sorry, man. He's saying is that he's like they kept breaking his laws. So
we're aware.
Gave them,
verse 24.
He gave them the word give them there is figurative.
It's not proven.
Because what it's talking about is
did they commit figurative sins? Above? I mean, where do you draw the line on figurative? I don't get it.
Dude, come on, man. Come on. It's just like if I say to you, I don't know. If I say to you, I gave my kid. Or if I say I killed my kid, right? That's bad, right? If I say I killed my kid at Mario Kart, you understand that it's a figure of speech, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
because we have known idioms in English. I'm asking you to demonstrate why anyone would think that this is an idiom.
This is an idiom because he would
I'm
never
asking
give
you
this
to
law.
Prove it.
Yeah, because we could just again, exegesis requires time and effort. Okay, it doesn't
I'm aware. I've done it.
It's kind of quick thing like this. But anyone who carefully looks at this text.
He'll never do it. He's not going to do it.
I just did.
What you did is you made a claim. What you've just repeated over and over again that it is an idiom, but you can't demonstrate that it is. And this is the strength of our position. The strength of our position is that the words here just mean what they mean. Like if there's an idiom in the Bible, I can show you in Hebrew literature why it's an idiom. So, for example, we could talk about the long nose of God. We can even talk about the off of God, meaning the hot nose of God. I can show you in Hebrew literature where the hot nose of God means he's angry. That's an idiom. I can demonstrate that the idiom exists through other Hebrew languages, Hebrew literature, and also through Hebrew lexicons. You can't do that here. You can't show me how the word natan means something other than give, not in the lexicon, not in the Bible, not in other parallel Hebrew literature, which means you're only saying it's an idiom because you're coping and you don't like the text. You don't like what it actually says. Now, that's the last thing I'm going to say because I got to get out of here by like 10 o'clock or so.
I was going to ask.
Sorry.
Yeah, real quick, Toronto. We had DB in the back here. Toronto, we're going to do this again in the future. It's been like a blast. Going back and forth with you, and I'm sure the viewers have had a hoot. You think you got a minute or two just to hit DB up real quick here, Justin? Because I really do have to go, and so does Justin. But listen, you're probably going to be on Taco's live stream and stuff like that, as you usually are, Toronto. And you've been good faith here. I just don't believe that you would honestly think those things are okay if the Bible didn't say them, in my opinion.
No, I'm just saying.
Final words from you.
Final words. Exegesis takes a lot of time, and you can't just rush into these chapters and just ask me to just prove that this, and you're not doing it fast enough. Therefore, you're wrong. Yeah. Exegesis takes time. It takes effort. It takes
which is why you can't
research.
Do it.
No, because if I had the time and effort, I could do it. You're not giving me that.
Come back next time and give me the data. Okay.
I'll do that. That's fine. All right. Thanks, Derek. Anyway, God bless.
Thank you, Toronto. Have a good one, man. It's been a hoot. Okay, so DB, are you still want to hop on real quick? Yeah, we have 5 minutes, Justin, and I'm letting you make a call, man.
Yeah, we'll have a couple minutes.
All right, cool.
Oh, hi,
DB,
guys.
thanks for being patient.
Oh, likewise, guys. Great show. Thank you very much. Yeah, I don't know what I can say in the 5 minutes, but I guess I'd like to ask you first of all, if I may, that you had Jesus was a failed prophet, prove us wrong.
Right.
Is it? And to me, just on top of my head, I would think the ultimate proof would be to show that he's seen at the right hand side of God. Is that demonstrable, or did you have something else in mind to prove?
Oh, we don't believe Jesus is at the right hand of God. We don't think he was divine in any way, or even made to be put in a divine spot. I mean, ancient literature has mythologization all over the place with beings from every culture that are now seated up there in heaven among the pantheon, whether it be Olympus or whatever. So we don't believe it at all. What we're ultimately saying is that the prophecies or even predictions of Jesus, or the text that claim Jesus fulfilled prophecies, we would contest those things. Either they wrote them later and they retrofit these prophecies into a text, writing a story about Jesus, or Jesus made some claims, it looks like, in the text, whether he made them or the author who has an apocalyptic mindset made them, and they did not come to fruition. Some of that stuff may be Vaticanum ex eventu, but again, we don't believe he actually fulfilled these prophecies, and we would say he failed, just along with Paul or the Apocalypse of John.
I see. So whether he's the Messiah, if he filled the prophecies or not, that would be the proof. If I could prove to you that he fulfilled the prophecies, and in that respect,
yeah, we're asking for proof that he fulfilled prophecies. Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. I see. Then I'm a little uncertain myself about. I think there seemed to be a lot of liberality taken when a bit of a blind side. I think God did a bit of a curveball, lack of a better term, that God did. They weren't expecting. They were expecting a political leader. They had a suffering Messiah. So I think we should expect just very, very cryptic sort of prophecies and so forth. He was not going to fulfill them to the T. And I'm personally, I've always been a little uncertain. Just when even with Matthew declaring that this was a fulfillment of a prophecy and so forth, it doesn't always seem to add up, and sometimes it's not even a verse not in the Bible. Yeah. So Derek, I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, Justin, that I'm not maybe the right guy for this. Some expertise that
it sounds to me, DB, if I may, and this is a compliment. It sounds to me that you're much more trying to be honest and negotiate with this in your mind than a lot of people who do call into Justin's show, because this is something new that I'm wanting to start doing with my show, is have these kind of engagements, discussions, debates, things like that. A lot of people who come on Justin's show come in so headstrong and so confident, and they have red noses from the anger, like he just described. And Justin just sits there and works through the text. He knows his stuff quite well. And it gets them worked up, as you've witnessed tonight. A lot of people get worked up, and look, we're human. But it sounds like you're more like not sure. And you know what? That's okay. We actually prefer people to be honest and on a journey. And I guess there's not really much to dispute here. You might have faith. I'm not able to necessarily take your faith away, and that's fine if you want to have faith, or you think I find value in the story or whatever. Cool. But there are a lot of people who think that it's provable, it's historical, it's factual. You can just argue it, and all of that stuff. So
Derek, I'm compelled by the wisdom. Just the fact that God has indicted us all for sin and made a way, a gracious way for us to receive salvation. It's that wisdom that I'm compelled by, where I look around. It corresponds to life as I see. I think we've all rebelled. None of us love our neighbors.
Hey, DB, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
What do we need saved from?
Oh, sorry?
What do we need saved from?
Our sins. But you're right. From who? If there's a God.
Why do we need saved from our sins?
Because God, if God exists, then He made the rules and bound us to these precepts and laws to live by, and is holding us indicted if we don't. We're being saved from that.
Why doesn't He just forgive our sins? Why does He need blood?
There you go.
Why does He need to kill His son? I get the mythology of the idea, even though I think there's two ways to look at it. Oh, He laid down His life, or there's the ugly way of looking at it, depending on what lens you want to put on, and that is, holy crap, He killed His son. Horrific. So you could put on the positive theological lens, you could put on the negative critical lens and see it from either way. But many times God just forgave sins and people's behaviors changed and there was no need for blood. And I just don't know why that would be necessary.
The wages of sin is death. So I think if God is being, you're right, if it's being forgiving and so forth, he may, I guess maybe makes exceptions and so forth. Yeah, he could do that. I don't know if the holiness and justice would be upheld. You might in turn incriminate God that he made the laws too hard, that nobody could do it. His son came and was perfect, that everybody now is incriminated for that reason. So there was a necessity for Christ, if you will, to show us up. And then and his death, yes, he did kill his son, but how he exalted him after the fact. I mean, other men might be willing to do so also, suffer a little bit temporarily to receive the glory that he received. So it's not so sadistic as it might sound in and of itself. He was, and to me, that sacrifice was a Yom Kippur. It was along with Levitical sacrifices. So it's not a penal substitution. It's not that it was a final, oblation. Yom Kippur, to me, where all the Israelite sins were sinned. So it corresponds to many things.
I think the point that we're trying to make here is that God didn't have to send anybody to hell for these sins. Like God could have chose any infinite number of punishments for our sins. Like if my son sins against me, I'm not going to light him on fire. It just seems kind of silly that we would need saved from being lit on fire because we're imperfect, which is really that is the case. Like if I die at age 15 or something like that, and I've committed a handful of sins and I'm unrepentant, I go to hell the same place as Hitler. It's kind of an absurd thing.
That's an extreme. That whole spectrum that you could have pretty good and extremely bad all in the same place. That I don't know how that's going to work, but you brought up an interesting point. Jesus showed us up. If you sit there and you're sort of mitigating on your own behalf, and most people do, but Jesus was perfect. I mean, now I'm really guilty. I mean, I don't understand. I'm
sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry to interrupt. You're very nice, by the way. I just don't. I want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose track of the point. I get that you think Jesus is perfect. I don't see what that has to do with punishing children. Like if I have one child that's perfect and one child that screws up, I'm still not going to light the screw up on fire.
No, but sorry, what do you mean by light on fire?
That's what happens in fire. Hell.
Oh, right. I believe that's figurative. It's like Paul said, be nice to someone puts burning coals on their head. God does not do physical punishment for a problem of the heart. He doesn't inflict physical punishment. It's their own weeping and gnashing of teeth, their own self. They're punishing themselves. They regret the fact how easy it was to get to heaven. They denied it. It was easy. Sorry and thank you. That's it.
But the Bible says that there is weeping, gnashing of teeth in hell, and that there's fire in hell. And when the rich man went to hell in Luke chapter 16, he says, "I'm in agony in these flames." And when Jesus talks about sending people to hell, he talks about separating the wheat from the chaff and throwing the chaff into the furnace. And then even when he talks about it's better to like cut off one of your members rather than go to hell, he talks about because you're going to be thrown in the fires of hell.
Yeah, metaphorical entirely, 100%. And Lazarus and the rich man is an allegory.
Why isn't the crucifixion and resurrection allegory? Because, I mean, there are some scholars who think that's allegorical. Why don't we just buy into that? I mean,
I think with Lazarus and the rich man, it's quite evident. The whole chasm that's between them, when sit in Abraham's bosom, logistically, it's just implausible. I want this guy to dip his finger in water and relieve me of my pain. I mean, that's not sensible.
Well, some might say a man dying for 3 days and coming back seems implausible. And I would also, just a comment, I saw Doc Pluromanaut, who's in my chat a lot. I thought the same thing as he was saying. It was just like, well, that sacrifice, usually sacrifices are once and then the animal's dead. This guy only had a bad weekend and then he comes right back. And it's like the atonement was so like swift, quick, boom, boom. Now he's at the right hand of the Father. It just, there's a lot of plot holes, I think, when you're looking at this that seem problematic. I have to respect my guest here, DB, and I want to respect you too, but I have to respect Justin. Justin has to get off of here soon, and I want to get these super chats while I have him on the panel.
Yes.
In the future, feel free to call back in and we can have further discussion about other topics or these topics on those episodes. I'm sorry to cut you off short.
I get it, guys. Not a problem. Thank you very much. You guys, both of you guys are great. Thank you.
Thank you.
DB, thanks so much for being nice. You know,
Yeah.
like the caller, like the last caller are so unpleasant to talk to. That's why I don't treat them nicely, is because they don't come in being nice. But
yeah,
DB,
I hear you.
You're a great example. I hate talking over people like you because you're so nice. So don't change on us, okay?
I'll do my best, guys. Likewise.
Thank
Guys,
you, DB.
Take care. Thank you.
You too. Yeah, very, very nice person. And I could, I picked that up. You've been in combat longer than I have. Someone commented earlier, and they're right. They said Derek hasn't hardened his armor, so to speak, where I get a little rough around the edges. And I hope that doesn't change. I really don't. I want to try and be, but you do too.
No, let me be the bad cop. I'll be the bad cop. You be a good cop, and we'll have a tag team.
Yeah, why not? Look, I want to just say thank you again, Justin, for your friendship.
But I'm thrilled.
And coming on and doing this stream with me. I need to do a shameless plug for you real quick. Where is it at? Here it is. For everybody who's watching, please will you go and subscribe to Deconstruction Zone. I will make sure that I make this a collab as well, so it's easier for people to find. He is doing all sorts of very enlightening conversations with real people on the ground, all different stripes and colors and the whole nine of different views theologically coming in and challenging you, but more often you're challenging them. And I just hope people will go and show you some love and support, become part of your community that is in my community.
Hey, thanks, buddy.
Yeah, you're doing a lot. You're doing a lot. So, super chats. My buddy here, Jonathan Sheffield, the Anglican autodidact. Thank you so much for the super chat. Derek, prophecies concerning a hero in green, Zelda, rising to defeat an evil force, Ganon or Ganondorf, when the Triforce is threatened or a great calamity strikes, did come true. Prove me wrong. LOL. Love you, man. By the way, this is Jonathan Sheffield. He just debated Bart Ehrman. He's an Anglican. And I'm going to be doing a stream with him next week to review the debate. And he created my commercial, the intro cartoon and my outro matrix cartoon. He made this.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So we have a descendant of Doug in the house right here.
I can't even fathom how those cartoons get made. It's beyond my...
Bro.
I don't have any of that skill set.
Literally. Chris Wyndham, thank you so much for the super chat, Chris. It's hilarious that apologists will condemn the argument from silence fallacy in one breath and embrace it when saying, we have no evidence stonings happened. Hell, Doug. Bro, that was a comment on that real quick, just briefly before you move forward. Like, what the hell? Like, he was trying to say it never happened, but then, I'm like, Jews are picking up stones. Were they just playing make-believe? It wouldn't have seemed like a real threat if no one really was doing it according to the text. Anyway.
Yeah. It's wild, too, because if you read some of the community scrolls in Qumran, they talk about how there's a death penalty in the community rule, in the temple scroll, and in the Damascus document. All three of those documents in the Dead Sea prescribe capital punishment, some of them via stoning for particular crimes. Like, for example, in the community rule, it says if a man has committed adultery, he shall be put to death by stoning, and his wife shall be put to death by stoning. It's just right there. Like,
yeah. It's right there. And there's academics who do say they did practice this. That's not even bringing up like Josephus talking about the stoning of James, the brother of who we think may be Jesus, for breaking laws, whether that's blasphemy, who knows what it really means, but like he's thrown off the precipice and then they go and they throw stones at him to end it. That's historical. I mean, and if you look at it, the guy who's behind it, of course, was a bad guy. But anyway, that's a whole Josephine rabbit trail we could get into. Mostly Gizzards. Thank you for the 10. This guy doesn't
Gizzards.
Oh, you know Gizzards.
He's a friend of mine. Good to see you, Gizzards.
Good to see you, Gizzards. This guy doesn't realize these trials were barbaric as fuck. And they are the same people that wrote these books.
Yeah. These weren't friendly stoning trials. Like, they're not here trying to, let's analyze some data. Like, that's not how that worked.
Yeah. And I mean, look, there are scholars who think that the kind of situation that happened in Acts was mob-like. Sure. Maybe there were settings that were more court, less mobby. But either way you slice it, the practice is portrayed in the text. And we just were trying to make him look and say, stoning's not a good thing, dude. Like, try to get him to see, like, we shouldn't be throwing rocks at people for saying things that people are interpreting as blasphemy or whatever. And that's what the law says in the Hebrew Bible. The name of the Lord, do not blaspheme the name of the Lord. Oh, throw stones at the guy. Oh, you slept with someone you shouldn't have slept with. Oh, throw stones at the guy, like, or girl. Anyway, Daniel, thank you so much for the super chat. 2 of my favorite heathens. Apparently, Christians don't want to answer questions tonight, though. I feel like I've got a clicky noise coming through my mic again.
Yeah, it has been clicking a little bit tonight, but it's not. I wouldn't say that it's derailed anything.
I got to work on that. I don't know what's up with that. I thought it was my mic last time. Now I'm starting to think I might need a new interface or something. Like something's up. Okay, this is Kyle. Forgive me for butchering your name there. Is it possible, that what you are reading in Ezekiel is a reflection of the second set of commandments, Exodus 34, that reference child sacrifice?
So this is a really good question because the text concerning child sacrifice shows up twice in Exodus. So if you go to Exodus, there's multiple commands. If you go to Exodus 22, we're going to find the commands. Let me grab them real quick. Exodus 22. Most people think that the command is Exodus 22:29 because that's the one that doesn't mention redemption. Let me grab it. And then the other one seems to mention redemption. All right, let's see.
Are you wanting to share your screen? Sorry.
No, I'm just going to read it real quick. You shall not delay to make offerings from the fullness of your harvest and from the outflow of your presses. The firstborn of your sons you shall give to me. You shall do the same with your oxen, your sheep. 7 days it shall remain with its mother. And on the 8th day you shall give it to me. And then that's what it doesn't say anything after that. But there's probably a later edition, like Exodus 34, that does seem to mention redemption. And most scholars tend to agree that Ezekiel probably had access at least to Exodus 22, but not the later redaction that we find in 34 and elsewhere, which is why Ezekiel is like, I don't know nothing about this redemption shit, but guess what? God did command child sacrifice. What are we doing with that?
But he had no problem with that. And that was what I think Toronto was missing, was simply... I mean, go look at Isaiah, right? I create light, I create darkness, I create good, I create evil. I the Lord, do all these things. There would be no problem in the mindset of those ancient authors to have him punish them further by giving them laws that were evil, that were not good. God has every right to do that if he's able to create good and evil, if he's able to. And of course, we don't take the Bible as univocal. So we could find a place that might contradict these things. And that's what he would capitalize on, and then just use allegory or metaphor or euphemism and find a way to get out of the tough ones. And that's not saying there aren't those, but notice every hard pickle becomes one of those every time. It never ends, Justin.
It's fun when you've actually read the text. The problem we have is a lot of apologists haven't read the text, and when they do read it, their argument relies on words no longer meaning words, and it just, it can be kind of frustrating.
Yeah. Again, thank you again for that super chat. This is Kyle. I'm just butchering your name probably. Forgive me. God can put a spirit on animals in the ark so they don't kill one another, but can't stop child trafficking. He is either evil or complete BS.
Agreed.
I have nothing further to add to that. It's a great Epstein illusion there, and you have to ask yourself why, obviously.
Derek, if you had a button you could press that would end all children being SA'd, would you press it?
100%. No question.
Like
I wouldn't even think through it. I would not even think through it. I would just be like, yeah, done. I'd rather find out, there was some use for, okay, like that use is no need. I find a better way to do things. Like, there's no excuse, in my opinion. Takes no time to answer that question. Dano Cannell, thank you so much for these people.
Yeah, I know these
They're rock hard for Doug, I guess. Thank you so much. Only LC said, you two changed my life. Wow. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you for getting me out of cult.
That's what we're here for. I mean, we're here because we love truth. We were once in the cult and we left because truth matters.
Absolutely. And those are such positive messages. I really appreciate those. It motivates us to keep going. Doc Pluromana, thank you so much for being a member and just always being in the chat. Funny trajectory. Bronze Age law equals stone the sinner. Later law equals stone the adulterer. Modern pilgrimage, throw sandals at a wall. At this pace, religion is one step from divine Nerf ball. I always has something clever. So clever.
Yeah. Some people are still throwing shoes. Remember, George Bush had a sandal thrown at him.
Oh, right? Oh my God. I remember that video. Arrow to the knee. Thank you for the super chat. Was Jesus fulfilling biblical prophecies on purpose? And if so, does that indicate he's a charlatan, or did he believe his own words, in your opinion? I have some thoughts on this, but I'll let you go first.
I think if there was a historical Jesus, and I tend to think there was, I think he was out of his mind and actually did think that he was the Messiah and actually did try to manufacture the fulfilling of some prophecies. But I think most of the prophecies that we'll find, like in the book of Matthew, were after the fact. People like looking, how do we make him the Messiah? And that was how they manufactured prophecies about Jesus. Was there probably a guy that maybe taught that he was the Messiah and he was going to like die? Maybe. We see Isaiah 53 being applied to the teacher of righteousness in the Dead Sea Scrolls. It seems like there was already this interpretation that the Messiah might actually suffer. So it's hard to say exactly, but my guess is Jesus probably did think he was, but he was just as delusional as people today that are getting hospitalized with Jerusalem syndrome. 100 people a year go to Jerusalem and they're so overwhelmed by the majesty of the holy city that they start to think that they are the second coming of the Messiah. They get hospitalized. They get out of their mind.
Yeah, there's a lot there. I would just say that, again, like this is in layers. I cannot just say it's one thing, because I would first start with, can we trust what we're reading? Is this literary? Is it just typology written in literary form? They're mimicking Elijah, Elisha, David, Joseph, you name it, right? The suffering servant, the Son of Man, and Daniel. I mean, there's so many things that seem to be literary. But if you do look to Josephus and you look to Judas the Galilean, you look at Theudas, you look at the Egyptian, you do see these Messiah wannabes that are leading large crowds into the wilderness, and then they're getting crushed by Rome. Jesus got crushed by Rome, according to the gospel. So it seems like some potential Messiah-like wannabe person may have been the root to this movement. At the end of the day, I think they wrote a lot of mythology and a lot of literary, I'll say, fabrication around him. I don't know this. I'm just giving you the best guess that I have, and that's from talking to experts like Del C. Allison Jr.'s recent book, Jesus Interpreting. He goes through the typology issue, and we struggle with this together in an episode where I challenge him politely on this very matter. And when I did press him and go, okay, you're saying that Jesus really tried to be like Moses, because he thinks that the historical Jesus did really try to be like Moses. Then I brought up, I'm like, okay, hold on. What about David? What about Elijah and Elisha? What about all these other? He goes, oh, that's fictional. And I go, okay. So he goes, but Derek, I could be wrong. After 50 years, my convictions tell me. So I'm like, all right, mad respect. But you understand the problem here is that he could be right, but the confidence, your confidence has got to be deflated. Once you study this stuff. Yeah, sorry.
In stats, a lot of times you can get a confidence indicator on what you're doing. We really need something like that in biblical studies.
Yeah. So I don't know. I would say if there was a guy, yes, just like many others, they tried to enact what they saw in scripture, but likely failed. And then you might ask, but then why did the Jesus cult succeed? And that's another discussion on what may have caused it to succeed in light of other failed ones. And you might even look to other apocalyptic movements and say, why did they succeed? And they have early failed apocalyptic expectations as well. So cognitive dissonance is somewhere I would look. Carnage Asada. Love it. Tag yourself. I'm Justin's fucking rock.
This is a truthy truth. In fact, that's how I got this plushie back here, because I'm the hot sauce and she's the taco.
So you know this person. Okay.
Oh, certainly do. Yeah.
Absolutely. Carnage Asada. What a hell of a name. Okay, look, dude, this has been a blast. I hope we could do this again in the future. This has been a hoot. Justin,
I'm
final
sure we
words from
will.
You're the guest.
This was a blast. I when you told me you wanted to get some discussions and some debates going, I was thrilled that you're gonna get involved because you got vast knowledge. It's
Thank you.
time to put it to work. And you don't have to be a bad cop like me. I get to be a bad cop sometimes. But I think your breadth of knowledge will be much needed in this space.
Well, you've given me encouragement. I've been motivated by you when I've had rough moments, and those who follow me and have been following for a while know that I've had hiccups and just trying, life is life. You've been in my corner. You've given me encouragement. You've helped motivate me to do good things. And I just encourage anybody who's watching to take you serious. Go check your content out. Let's get you over 100K. I'm actually flabbergasted, really, why you don't have a plaque already behind you. That is dead serious. I mean that. I'm actually shocked. So let's put those numbers over 100K subscribers, get Justin the attention he deserves, and hopefully you can do this with me again soon in the future.
Absolutely. Buddy, thanks for having me, and I'm sure we'll talk soon.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Like the video, share it out there. Subscribe to Justin or you're not saved. He doesn't need blood, but he won't forgive you if you don't. Have a good one.
Son, do you want to know what the truth is? After this, there's no turning back. You take the blue pill and you wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill and you stay in Wonderland, and I show you just how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.